Hello! Hello and welcome. You have been put into a TheAstroPub facility. Hold on, let me get to this right. Hello, my name is Paul, Berserker01, Batman Shelley, your humble host and space bartender here at the AstroPub, your space bar at the end of the universe. Sit back, relax, enjoy the show. We got a good one for you. How y'all doing? Hey, Mark. Looking snazzy tonight? Gotta keep it classy. People like the gold, so I'll bring it back. It's my Hurston look. It's my Paul Hurston.
You can take away my spaceship. You can take away my space suit.
Suit.
You can even take away my space lasers.
No pew-pews.
But you can
Never.
ever take away my space game.
Oh, we're gonna talk about the Frontier Fighters.
Vambolation has subscribed.
Thank you, Vambolation, for that Twitch Prime sub. You are very important, power, very impressive, very pedestrian. This is your fault. There's room for good night. Shots and cheers and chat, y'all. Shots and cheers. Thank you for that. Oh. Yay, lore, indeed. So I haven't quite finished the video that I want to get out this weekend, so I'm gonna have to keep this short. I mean it. Like, I really have to keep this short. Luckily, it's not a huge day. I do want to do an office hours capsule because of the new thing. Not the new thing. It's sort of an older thing, but new-ish thing. Let me pull up. Do. Okay, pull it up. What do they call it? StarCitizen Comms Drive. So we're going to look at the Comms Drive, and then we're going to look at some other things real quickly. When was the first Comms Drive published? November 8th. Okay. And there's a couple of other things I want to pull up because there's also some information we've gotten today just in terms of fixes in general. There we go. Bop, 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 bop. We're also going to watch the ISC for sure, because there's lots of lore stuff. Not lore stuff. Yeah, it is lore stuff there, but I'm looking through some of the... Okay, sorry. I'm just laughing because of something that Elliot, who we say Elliot a lot. I want us to start saying Elliot. Ouch. Next time you see him, do it. See if he gets the reference. I'm glad that everyone's picking up what I've talked about on Blue Sky and other places. Yeah, I talked about an off ramp. CIG needs an off ramp for storytelling like this. I mean, there still should be consequences. There should still be one of those things where it's like, hey, you made this decision because you didn't read. So fuck you. Here's an off ramp. Read more. I feel like that's a little bit better. Is there a lower reason for the speed limit in space? Yes, cue ball. You're not going to like it. They've actually wrote this out. The reason why ships have speed limits is because every ship is designed to only go a certain speed in the effective SCM that we have now because of safety limits. It's the same reason why you can't drive a race car on the highway. And there's no real need to have really fast ships when quantum boost and quantum drive exist. Even the ships that we have that are racing ships are actually dumbed down racing ships. They're like civilianized. Literally, it's part of the 300i lore. There was lower limits in the UEE, and then there's a lawsuit about how things have gotten safer, like ships have gotten safer over time, so the speed limits are actually unneeded. So they this lawsuit was concluded, and the UEE Supreme Court basically said, or UEE High Court, I think it was called, basically said, yeah, no, the UEE is setting artificial limits way too low. They can be increased. And so the first ship to take advantage of the higher speeds was the 300. So the 300 was the fastest ship in the verse for like 20 years. Because like it was being built and tuned right as that lawsuit came out. So they're just like, fuck it, boom, put this into 11, new limit. But it's like, you got to think about it like airliners can technically go faster than they actually do. You know, they're not like hitting the maximum speed when they're flying. They fly at a certain speeds because of safety, because of fuel economy. There's lots of different reasons. Most vehicles can go faster than the limits they have. But when you have a bunch of vehicles and planes in one area, you want to make sure that they're flying or driving safely. So you have rules of the road, you have rules of the sky, you have different like regulations for logistics. And so all ships are built to handle that logistical framework and that traditional framework. So like, it makes sense. Like, oh, but I don't live in, but what about the pirates? What do the pirates care about speed? It's like, because the ships are built to not be able to go over a certain speed. You have to like modify them. So yeah. Like I said, it's not something that everyone's going to necessarily like, because people are like, well, logically, why would pirates care? And it's like, well, maybe because they would explode. Most can't go much faster than they do. No 747 was as fast as like Mach 9.94, not counting the Concorde. Most airliners don't go their maximum speed all of the time. God, UE law and legal frameworks must be a nightmare of regulations. It gets worse because there's also local law and regulations you have to abide by. So every planetary system has its own laws that overlap with UE law and sometimes have more detailed laws. The problem is that we're in a video game, so people are like, well, theoretically, we're in space. We should be able to go infinite miles an hour or like close to the speed of light because we could just keep going in a straight line and keep burning because we don't have that. It's like, yeah, you probably could, but should you? It's a matter of like Star Citizen at the end of the day is a game about World War II dogfights with bird aliens. It's trying to immerse you in a universe, but it's not trying to be super realistic. I literally just looked at my journal and saw that there are law entries for each planet in Stanton. And UE law. Yeah, if you look in your journal, you actually have a bunch of stuff you can go through. Human reaction time can only be so fast, so limits make sense. I mean, if I remember correctly, it's the F-22 or the F-35. Like, there's some of the more modern Gen 4, Gen 5 jets can actually survive. They can actually pull maneuvers that human pilots would die if they try to pull. Like, the frames are so good that they can go faster and do crazy maneuvers. The thing that's limiting them is the human biology, the meat puppet inside the plane. Yeah, no, really, Taha. Look it up. I was surprised when I heard this. Like, what? It's like, yeah, the actual limit right now for aviation is the human body. It's the same thing in Star Citizen, because AI is completely outlawed. Because every time humanity builds an AI, even like super intelligent, or at least general intelligence, if not super intelligent AI, it goes crazy and tries to kill everyone. And not in like a Skynet sort of nuke the world, destroy humanity, in the kind of like modern fucked up sense. Like, you tell it to simulate an attack on an alien species, and something in the fucking code fucked up, so it didn't hear simulated. All it heard was attack an alien species, and then just goes off to attack an alien species, and humans are like, oh fuck, he was not supposed to do that. Oh god, we're all gonna die. Do we need AI for that? No, of course we don't need AI to attack the Xenos, but the idea was a dead man's hand. That was actually, that's a legitimate lore event, where the Mezzers tried to build a dead man's hand of bombers, and when they were being developed, they went rogue and tried to destroy the Xi'an Empire. So they had to hunt them down and destroy them before they made it. Do we know if any of the alien races have used AI? No, there's not enough information about them yet about that, but. Where are my cyberpunk mods? Yeah. All right. So we're going to watch ISC first, and then we're going to do a capsule, and then we'll hang out for a little bit. Because the capsule is going to look at a couple of different upgrades, a couple of like new information we've been getting about updates to kind of see where CIG is at this point, and then just to kind of give information out there about what CIG is focusing on in terms of improvements, in terms of bug fixes, and so on and so forth. And I know everyone's going to say the fucking elevator line because everyone thinks they're fucking like they're so clever when they make a joke about elevators. Can we not be boomer shit? All right, y'all? Like, let's not do boomer memes. I know many of you are, but still, like, please. It's embarrassing. For those of you who don't know, as a connoisseur, as a brain broke historian who loves investigating these sorts of things, one of the things in sort of the study of memes is that depending on your age depends on how quickly you can cycle memes. The current generation, Alpha, Zoomers and Alpha, Z and Alpha, Gen Z and Alpha, are really good at cycling. They can cycle through a meme in like a day sometimes. Millennials, my generation, it takes a little bit longer for us to cycle, a week, maybe a month. Xers, a little bit longer than that, like a month or a year. But boomers who are like 50 or 60 plus age, around retirement age, they tend to be actually, they stick into a meme and they can't let it go for like 10 years. It's an interesting phenomenon. And I have a feeling that it's less connected to the generations and more to do with age. Like, I feel like my generation, as we get older, y'all's generation, who, let's be honest, I know most y'all are in your 40s and 50s, or a little older. The Xers are going to start to develop that same sort of pattern, and I will start developing the same patterns as I get older and unable to keep up with the latest information as well as to hold on to what I remember back when I was following these things a little closer. So it's an interesting phenomena, in my opinion. But I'm also the kind of nerd who likes to look at video game development and be like, ooh, they almost had a fist fight here. Do we make fun of stairs or ramps? Usually if the joke is obvious or not, it's not good or clever. No. I'm already lost at 33. I will tell you, fellow millennial, Kairu, that as somebody who works with Zoomers and Alphas, they make up shit for the sake of making up shit. Their slang means literally nothing. It is dada in pure form because they just want to fuck with people. There is no meaning behind their slang. It is designed to be nonsensical words. "10 years is optimistic. My dad still does the potatoes line from Lord of the Rings." 2001? Oh boy, what about them hanger cues though? Sir, we built an AI. Oh fuck, where did it go? Why is it going into a plane? And why is that a B-2 bomber? Basically, yeah. I've been loving Zoomer humor. Gen Alpha humor is giving me some hurdles though. We're doomed, aren't we? Not really. Zoomer humor reminds me a lot of humor and stories from not the Greatest Generation. What is it called? The Lost Generation. The generation that fought World War One. Nihilistic as fuck and thinking that the world is awful and horrible. Some of the greatest fucking writers we've ever had came from that generation. So I'm actually pretty optimistic about that generation. Listen, I've been teaching these kids for like over a decade now. I've joked that Gen Z are millennials with suicide vests, and by that I mean they know what they want, they'll get what they want. If they don't get what they want, they'll just blow everything up, including themselves. They have no self-preservation because they just kind of feel like the fuck it, I don't give a shit. Like, oh no, our future is over with. Cool, then should just threaten everyone until I get what I want. If I don't get what I want, then cool, whatever. It's an interesting phenomenon to look into. I think alpha is a little bit more calculated. One of the youngest alphas are entering high school, so I've taught them. They're very smart. They're very like dialed in. And to try this back to Star Citizen, this is an important note because, you know, I'm not going to make the joke about how they'll actually be the ones to complete Star Citizen or anything like that, but as the game becomes more mainstream, we're going to start seeing younger and younger audiences play the game. In fact, a lot of the players and streamers who play and stream Star Citizen are younger millennials or elder Zoomers. So when like Squadron comes out, I wouldn't be surprised if it attracts a lot of sort of that crowd, the younger crowd, the 18 to 25-year-old crowd to play Squadron 42 and possibly Star Citizen. Hey, Living in the Verse, how you doing? So get used to it. That's what I'm trying to say. Oh God, it's strapped retaliatory entrance to an A2 Moab. Beat to the B2. Yeah. Skibbity citizen. I for one, welcome our toilet overlords. What I just heard was get used to hiding the chat. You don't do that already? Chat is fucking toxic, man. All right, I'm gonna go use the restroom real quick. When I come back, we'll get started with watching the ISC because I've already been streaming for like 20 minutes. Come back. before I go on, the one thing I will say is I do believe that the one thing that's very interesting is that Zoomers and Alpha have a heavy sense of empathy. Like, yeah, sure, they get angry at each other, they yell at each other, but they're a lot nicer to each other than I remember high school being in general. And it's like, you know, I know it's not like, oh, well, they're just being nice around me or whatever. It's quite literally, they are, like, they don't know I'm there half the time because I'm very quiet. I am a ninja when it comes to those kids. And they're a lot more chill around each other. All right, let's get started. Let's watch this. This is, I'm going to talk a little bit about why this is bad or good here in a moment. Here's a question, chat. Should I just record myself reacting to this? I don't think anyone would watch it. I don't like doing reactions like that too much just because I do feel like they're kind of lazy. Yes, but I mean... Don't be a react dude. Yeah, Astro reacts. No, I'm not going to do Astro reacts. I'm just trying to, like, you'd watch. Okay, well, let's do it as a capsule and then talk a little bit about it. And I'll have some, like, discussions afterwards. I have to do more content for this channel because I'm moving everything to the typical channel, the typical uploads go to the captain's table. And since that's moved over to its own channel, I have to increase the uploads on this channel to keep YouTube reminding that I'm alive. But yeah. This one seems better. Interrupt videos. Yeah, I'm not gonna I think it's okay to do reacts to CIG vids. I'm not gonna do them frequently, I don't think. And if I do, it'll be these Inside Star Citizens. I'll ask people if they want it or not. All right. Hello and welcome to another Office Hours capsule. That's right. This is a small section of my Office Hours live stream that I do at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific on twitch.tv/TheAstroPub, youtube.com/TheAstroPub live. Come join us live and join chat who's going to lie to you and say this is pre-recorded, but I guess technically it's pre-recorded because you're watching this after the fact, but it's live while I'm doing this. And don't listen to them. But this is going to be different, all right? So I do this all the time. I watch when ISCs and SCLs come on, well, usually ISCs. When they come out, I tend to watch them with everybody and talk with them, kind of do live reacts, as it were. So I asked chat, should I do a react to this one? Because this one's a little bit more close to home, because they do talk a lot about lore, and I do want to talk a little bit more about it. And they all said, yeah, do it. So I want to hear your thoughts down below. Please do, like, if you want me to do stuff like this. I don't like doing a lot of react stuff. I find that it's kind of low engagement content. But I know people like watching me kind of go through information and give my own spin on it. So please do let me know if this is good or not. But for now, let's take a look at the first Inside Star Citizen of 2025, content driven.
If you watched last week's 3-hour special edition of Star Citizen Live, you heard a lot about the evolution of this year's patches, how often they're going to come out, and how our shows are changing to reflect that. And if you didn't, well, I'm not really going to recap all that here. But this week, we sat down with some of the non-feature folk to talk about the content-driven side of this new initiative.
Also, that is a Perseus.
Where did this idea of a content-driven push come from?
Well, as we sort of alluded to in the 1.0 presentation at CitizenCon, there's been a desire to get more emphasis on starting to build the storylines and the characters of Star Citizen Universe and getting them actually in game.
The way the content patches are going to break down are we're ultimately trying to provide new content to you each month. Alongside all of this, we're going to be essentially providing new missions, new events, kind of a lot of what we've done before, but taking it up to the next level.
This was an opportunity to start figuring out ways to engage the players in a growing and expanding storyline.
We're going to be sending you all the way around the verse, doing lots of different varied types of gameplay. You'll still be doing events that are prevalent to a story that we're going to be working on as well.
I got you covered!
As well as new missions that build up the existing roster.
Covered!
As well as new
Eckhart Security Priority Mission. Cargo Recovery. That's interesting. Well, I mean, the other ones there are Slicer's missions, so, you know. I don't remember this one. No, this is Save Stanton. Yeah, this is Save Stanton. This is one of the Save Stanton ones. I remember it was Eckhart Security. Because I realized it says at the top, it's like Eckhart Security. Let me detail. No, this is just an old Save Stanton one.
Missions that build up the existing roster that we actually have in game already. There will be some content that is only there for a limited amount of time, but ultimately a lot of this content is still going to persist when we hit to Star Citizen 1.0. So we're actually building out the larger content map that exists in the game. On top of that, there's going to be a huge focus now on stability and quality of life too, because we want a stable environment for our developers to work in, but we also want a stable game that's less buggy, less crashes, and much more pleasant for you guys to play day to day.
What's the word? Today's been rough.
And much more.
Adric. He's got an Adric stuff. Fuck. For those of you who know, Adeptus Ridiculous. Fantastic content. Go watch them, especially if you're interested in Warhammer 40K. I recognize that. That's just a little guy shirt. That stuff. It's Adric. For those of you who don't know, a lot of Star Citizen's developers are huge Warhammer 40K fans and Warhammer fans in general, and it shows. It definitely shows. And the fact that one of their mission designers is a 40K fan is not surprising to me. We'll go over this a little bit more in there in a bit, but yeah, it's a good indication.
Pleasant for you guys to play day to day.
What's the word? Today's been rough.
As far as the structure for how we're going to tell the story, one of the things that we were kind of excited to try for it was actually utilizing a storytelling structure that's usually used in TV shows. Basically, there's usually an A story and a B story that happen within a single episode. If you're Seinfeld, you have a C story as well, because they're just that good. But there's the A story is sort of your primary story, your B story is sort of a supplemental ancillary story that sometimes can feed into it, but sometimes can be standalone. And it's just a way to kind of keep the scenes dynamic and kind of make them feel alive. So what we're trying to do is actually utilize kind of a similar thing, but stretched out over a longer period of time. And the idea being that A, it makes the universe feel bigger. So there's not just one thing happening that's consuming the entire universe. But also, if you're not interested in the A story, if for whatever reason it's not engaging you, you have something else that you can kind of do. So the idea is that hopefully that one of the two stories, hopefully both, but if not, one of the two stories will be fun and exciting and kind of offer a new insight to the Star Citizen universe.
It's an interesting take. A story, B story plot lines work in episodic content because you usually have a main story and a secondary story. I think it could work. The main concern I have is that it requires serialization. They're talking, for those who know what serialization is, it's Game of Thrones where like every episode builds on each other, so you have to watch everything from the very beginning in order to understand what's going on, rather than, Monster of the Week or there's a lot of terms for it. So what they're trying to do, in my guess, is that they're trying to do a serialized story where you start at the beginning and you work all the way to the end. And that in that process, each release, each phase, or each episode or chapter is going to be a small segment which will build onto to each other as they go through. It's an interesting idea. It's not it's not unique. Other games have done that. Hitman does that pretty famously, but they usually also do a lot of self-contained stuff. I think Mass Effect 2 is probably one of the more famous examples of that sort of style, where like each mission builds into each other because it's all toward a major conclusion. So it's sort of serialized because things kind of matter with that. But I'm interested to see what's going on with that at the very least, especially if they actually do something other than text missions. And I'll talk about that at the end of this.
Currently, the plan is actually that the A story, we've already started it, and is actually going to be going through September. And then the B story is a little bit smaller, but it starts basically in April and goes on. So it's a multi-month thing. So it goes on until about October. Once this A story and B story kind of resolve themselves, we have a new A story that starts up and a new B story. So we sort of bounce back and forth. So some months we'll have more B story than A story. Some other months we'll have more A story than B story. But it gives us a way to kind of, again, pull in a lot of different facets of the universe, and whether it's gameplay, mission types, ships, and not have to figure out one overarching narrative that somehow encapsulates everything.
This doesn't replace that big storyline that we talked about at CitizenCon.
No, this doesn't replace that, the 1.0 story, but it is actually kind of offering an exciting opportunity to kind of lay the groundwork for that type of storytelling in the game.
Hey! So what I've been thinking for a while is that what CIG is doing right now for the stories that they're going to be telling this year and in the following years leading up to 1.0 is the preview, like the prelude. So I'm imagining that a lot of stuff we're going to hear about is setting the stage and then testing out how to do storytelling in Star Citizen that works. And while I know I actually talked with a couple people who seem to be very critical of this storytelling style, I am a little bit myself, it's also important to understand that this is new to the people doing it. And also, even if you're an experienced writer, this is a different story, different universe. So it's going to take some time for them to get their feet to figure out how to tell the story in a way that makes sense for players to enjoy. There are some things that, again, I'll talk about at the end, which I think they should probably keep in mind. But let's listen to a little of the story so far.
Save Stanton is an event that spans over a few months, and it is all about a gang that has invaded Stanton. And it's not one of the usual ones either, it's not one of the usual suspects.
So this started in 324, where we made this narrative journey that players will go on.
The big story beat was that there was a new outlaw pack sort of showed up in Stanton's system and was wreaking havoc.
This looks great.
They were known as the Slicers.
This looks fantastic. Why didn't we play this?
And were launching basically devastating attacks against the local population.
Targeting cargo ships, stealing cargo, targeting different locations around Stanton, such as UGFs and outposts, inhabiting them, and also going around stealing sensitive data that the CDF do not want them to have.
The CDF had got all of the players to come and help. After the players sort of stopped them from doing that, the Slicers had showed their power and showed what they was really about and brought in an Idris that players had to try and reclaim off of them.
The viciousness of the attacks and the sort of unprovoked aspect of it is just sort of highlighting effectively what the problem is with Pyro, is that you have this sort of lawless haven for outlaws right next door to Stanton, and basically they have the freedom to kind of come and attack when they want to.
So these people just lived in a hole and decided to come to another place and make it a hole?
Some people just love chaos.
With 401, the player will find themselves in Pyro, ready to defend it or attack it. Depending on which one you have chosen, you'll be locked into that faction. So you can choose the Citizens for Prosperity, the Headhunters, or the Frontier Fighters. If you're working for the Citizens of Prosperity, you're doing more aid work. You're there to help people. You're not really doing much combat work. They're trying to make sure everyone survives this by passing out food, water, medical supplies.
They're basically like, we believe that there's good in this system, there are certainly bad elements, but you're just going to exacerbate the problem by trying to solve it with violence.
Yeah, so instead we're going to solve it with corporate phone donations. We'll bring that up later.
And the headhunters are an old-time gang who've lived there for a long time. They know the land, they know the rules, and they're unhappy that these rules are being crossed.
Headhunters would want you in their group because they kick ass and they're fun to hang out with.
So they're on the offensive. They're here and they're going, you're not attacking our home. They're basically going to be just trying to kill the frontier fighters. And the frontier fighters want everybody dead. They're going nuclear Earth. You will be killing civilians. You will be killing headhunters. You'll be killing Xenothreat. They don't care who. If you are in Pyro and you're not them, you're dead.
That would have been nice to know. That would have been nice for, like, in the game for people to hear that from them. I mean, they kind of did, but not really. This is one of the problems that I have with how they're doing this right now, because it feels bad. I'll talk about it later in a bit.
What's up the frontier fighters' ass?
A lot of explosives.
They're perfect for someone like the Darklaw. I don't know what that says about him.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I do.
Frontier fighters is basically justice for Stanton.
They just want to live life in Stanton without being interrupted every 5 seconds. They want to make sure that this doesn't happen again.
Are you being honest about the frontier fighters right now?
No.
No.
Yeah.
The Citizens for Prosperity have seemingly found something out, but they're not telling you as an operative exactly what. They are sending you to defend their data runners, and they're trying to get them out of Pyro, and they're asking you to go on the offensive now and attack the frontier fighters. Which isn't usual for the CFP. They're trying to be more of a peaceful group.
This peaceful group, who is totally peaceful and not violent at all, is attacking the frontier fighters.
Group in this operation, but now they're not.
Peace through superior firepower. Exactly.
And the frontier fighters are aware of this data that the CFP have. They have reported that they think it's to do with their attack plan on Pyro. So they're asking their operatives to take out the data runners that the CFP are trying to get out.
I'll cover you.
And also destroy any CFP-controlled servers to make sure that the data is gone and lost for good.
And the headhunters?
Headhunters, again, carrying on their violent approach of sustaining their locations, reclaiming their locations. Where frontier fighters might have set up, they will go back in and explode every material that they had so they can get their outpost back. At the end of all this, you'll learn things.
You might learn a few things about the intentions of each of those factions. You might learn something more about yourself and what moral choices you decided to make and ways that us as designers got to fuck with you.
Horribly. Like, it's not good. Like, I'm not saying, like, the thing they wrote was not good. It's just, like, bad writing.
At the end of this chapter, this leaves us with the truth of what was really happening and sets the stage for something more to come. The story doesn't end here.
I'll keep them occupied.
The way that this story ultimately is intending to play out, there are actually going to be real ramifications based on the group community choices that are made. So that will actually change the direction of the universe. Or it can either go one way or it can go the other way. So we're actually going to be playing around a lot with ways that players can decide how they want the universe to change.
That's good.
So moving forward, there's going to be a bit of a twist that comes down the road, which is going to escalate basically the situation into one of our first big events. With this, it basically allows us to plan out a bit more and actually, again, start to build a growing narrative
giving players more of a reason to engage and be able to talk to each other and like, hey, where did you get that item from? Oh, well, I was here when this happened, and I was here when this happened. Definable points in our universe's history.
I like that idea.
It adds to the universe, it adds to the story of it all, and it means that you as a player help build this world out.
So I'm really excited about the changes coming in. It's going to allow us to get more fun content in your hands more often. And it's going to provide a much more stable environment for us to work in, but also for you to play in as well.
Up until this point, we've actually been honing in on gameplay mechanics and more kind of under the hood stuff. We have a lot of data pads in the game to kind of do the heavy lifting for storytelling now. This is allowing us to kind of
Bad.
push on those other facets as a way to kind of be higher impact storytelling techniques.
Geez, that would be cool.
So with a patch almost every month this year, building the narratives of the Stanton and Pyro systems with new content less reliant on big feature work, and packed between as many bug fixes and refinements as we can manage, we aim to deliver a progressive series of improvements in storytelling that will change life in the verse for the better throughout 2025. Oh, and last month, we launched a new bi-monthly Squadron 42 newsletter with exclusive video content, ringtones, wallpapers, and even merch. If you missed it, you can go to the Squadron 42 or account settings sections of the RSI website to opt in and not miss out on the next exclusive offerings. Or don't. I don't get any commission or anything. I just thought the stickers were neat. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Thanks for letting us share the people and process of game development with you, and we'll be back in 2 weeks with a look at Alpha 402, Supply or Die.
All right. So, good episode. I think that was a good episode. For those of you who don't know, I'm going to spoil this because it's been out there already, and if you haven't, you already have. The twist is that the Frontier Fighters are the Slicers. Now, if that sounds like it came out of nowhere, it's because it did. There was no indications that the Slicers were the Frontier Fighters. The only indication was that both of these organizations just showed up out of nowhere. We had no previous lore of the Slicers or the Frontier Fighters, and there was definitely some discussion in lore, or there was at least some things like who these people were, where they come from, like in some of the mission dialogue. But I don't care if it's a spoiler. I'm saying it because you need to understand that it's already been spoiled. Like, it's been out there for a long time. It's a shitty twist. It's a bad twist. Because a good twist allows your gamer, your player, your reader, your watcher to put clues together to be able to determine that, hey, there's something off here. It smells bad. And if the only thing you have is mission descriptions, that's problematic. There should have been clues. There should have been things strung about. There were a couple of data pads, which I was able to find, but none of them indicated that the Slicers were the Frontier Fighters. Nothing that I could find seems to indicate that until they just sort of appeared as saying, by the way, the Slicers are the Frontier Fighters. Yeah, the Frontier Fighters are brutal. They're maniacal. They're genocidal. But so are the Headhunters. So, like, and yeah, there were some of their actions were a little weird, but you would only be able to figure out what those actions were if you already took the missions. So the smugness isn't helping, Elliot, because it's not good. That just wasn't a well done twist. I do think if they learned from this and improved it and gave something like an off-ramp, that would be better. In fact, it seems like they already have. I'll pull this up right here, because this is from Elliot, posted today.
You can take away my spaceship.
I'm gonna turn those off for now. So this is posted by Elliot. It's a purely narrative phase, with the truth being revealed that the Frontier Fighters are pulling back for now. This part serves as a narrative conclusion and also as a moral chaser for anyone we tricked and feels bad that they committed genocide on an entire solar system. So The question is, why? What was the reason for this twist? And maybe they'll reveal a reason for it down the line. But the fact that they were saying it really matters, it matters what you choose, it matters what you choose, and then a combination of either bugs or just straight up they decided to chicken out the last minute, there is no payoff. It's just there. It's poor writing. It doesn't work well with what Star Citizen is trying to be, and even if, like, from what they've even said that their statement goals are. So what I would pull from this is that CIG needs to kind of maybe pull back a little bit and maybe take a debrief and see what went wrong. And personally, if I was to give my opinion on this, as somebody who has studied the lore extensively, who has seen how these writers write, I would say you need to do two things. One, everything needs to be in game. We are beyond the point where you can put something on a website or put something on YouTube, and that counts as helping the players out. That is a failure of narrative. You were running a video game. That video game needs to have things in the video game that people can play. Homework is not fun. No one wants to do homework to play their games. So you need to start adding things in there that allows people to understand these things exist. Another thing is, do not rely on mission. Mission dialogue and data pads are an awful thing to rely on. You need to start adding characters. Those characters need to be introducing these missions, they need to be introducing these factions. You need to understand what's at stake. Even if it's one cutscene or one character you talk to or just a talking head in a corner with some audio over it. There needs to be some context as to what's going on. One or two things that allows the players to know, hey, this is suspicious. There's something funky going on. That would make players feel a little bit better. And if players still screw up and just go, I don't care, pay's good, the skins look good, I'm gonna go after this, then you can give them an off-ramp. Once they just go, oh, are we the baddies? If you give them that off-ramp, then players will still have made the decision based off of poor understanding what was going on, but they have a chance to get away and then either join one of the other factions or just get out of the whole thing altogether if they don't want to suffer the consequences. You need those things. If you don't have those things, players are going to feel bad. They're not going to, they'll feel bad about their decisions, and then they'll feel like they've been tricked, and then they won't participate in your events. If they feel like none of their decisions matter, that CIG can just pull the rug out from them at the 11th hour without any consequences for them, but consequences for you, without any way of you knowing what happened, that feels bad. It feels like you were like cheated. And now I don't think anyone is losing their mind over this, especially since it's so buggy right now that it doesn't really work the way they want to. But that I think that's what they should be learning from this. And now I have a feeling that a lot of the stuff they recorded was pre the reveal. So the smugness may have been coming out of the idea that they'll find out when you play it, but tone that down a little bit, Elliot. Tone it down. Earn that twist. If you earn the twist, then people will like you. If you didn't earn the twist, people just feel like it's bad storytelling. So that is what I will say on this ISC, the content-driven ISC released on it was today, the 13th, I think. Yeah, 2/13/2025. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this kind of content, let me know. If you want me to do more of this. And if you like more lore content, deep diving into Star Citizen lore, I'm actually doing an entire video on this event and some of the possible backstories behind all the things that are going on and the factions and what this might mean. That go to youtube.com/TheAstroHistorian for more of that. With that being said, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, hit the like button, subscribe for more videos, and hit the bell icon to be notified when these release. Like I always say, hope to see you someday in the black. Sorry, I was doing an experimental capsule there. Welcome everyone from Loken Stream. How you doing? think CIG needs more content in the universe to give context to the verse and context to your decisions. Without, like, CIG is really good at environmental storytelling, which makes me go, why the fuck haven't they made more commercials? The Orison commercial is a meme because it's played everywhere. They should have more commercials. And there should be news broadcasts where we find out more about it. Like some of those news broadcasts that we saw in the trailer for Save Stanton should have been in the fucking, like pop the displays in Stanton. Like we should have been seeing those, hearing those. They do it pretty well in Helldivers. Helldivers has something similar, and they do a lot of that stuff like through social media, but they could easily do that in game through small clips. They have an entire team dedicated to it. Play Spectrum news at stations. It's so easy, right? I don't think it's so easy, but I do think it's it's a lot less. It'll add a lot more context to the verse compared to what they have now. Look, we just got NPC doing random oil logs. I don't know what the fuck is taking so long or more audio style storytelling building around us. How NPCs are having conversations now. Have them say, they hear about slicers connected to the frontier fighters. Or like, who the fuck are these frontier fighters? They keep talking about the slicers. Who are the slicers? They mention it in a couple of the mission dialogues for the headhunters. The headhunters go, the frontier fighter is looking for the slicers. We don't know who the fuck that is. We've never heard about these assholes. But we know these assholes, but these frontier fighter assholes are here. Let's go kick them. They want to experience a pyro hello. We'll give them a pyro hello. But like, you have to have chosen the headhunters to even read that. Like, it's a failure. Yeah, I'm a little concerned that CIG partnering with 11 Labs is because they don't want to hire VAs. Like professional VAs because they're on strike. And if that's the case, fuck CIG. Seriously. Absolutely fuck them. Now, I know that I'm not stupid enough to go, I'm not going to financially support them, because enough people in this community are like absolutely down bad for AI that they wouldn't give a shit. But, you know. And I don't think CIG is doing that, but I'm concerned with the timing. Because the thing is that the only way you know about it is because it's 11 Labs' website. CIG hasn't said shit about it. So 11 Labs is a pretty popular AI voice service. So how the AI voice service works is they use voice samples and create brand new voices, and then you can feed lines to it, and then it will deliver lines in a somewhat realistic format. You can play with them. They have a free version. They also have a paid version, and the paid version is a little bit better. But yeah, a lot of 11 Labs, a lot of modders. I've seen a lot of mods in for other games that add like story content. They use 11 Labs as a replacement for audio. So like if they need to do audio, but they want to have some somewhat professional audio, they'll use an 11 Labs voice to feed the lines into that voice of that voice and have it do the lines for them. If they actively used AI instead of VAs and there's proof, I wouldn't spend another cent in this game. I mean, same, but like I'm not stupid enough to know that me like saying I'm not going to spend money on this game would actually help. I think it'd be more of it'd help more to explain to CIG that you just need to pay your actors. You've been resistant to AI and every other thing. Why would you suddenly cave to this? Nah, I don't think it was Twilight level writing. It wasn't bad writing. The story and stuff is very video game level writing. The problem was that it was all mission context. It was there was no audio, there was no video, there was no even like atmospheric context. It was just mission dialogue from missions we already have or missions we've done in the past. And it's just like, go here, blow this up, do this thing. Like, it's not immersive at all. It's not engaging at all. It's just do mission, make money. For a lot of people, that's fine. But if you are legitimately saying this is a story mission, then you need to do fucking story. Oh God, I just got it. Did they announce something? No, they haven't announced anything. On the 11 Labs website, they said that they work with CIG. CIG has to know that gamers don't read. That's the problem. You can't just do mission dialogue. And I know I talked with Jeremy about this at one point, and I was like, what you plan on doing? And they're like, we're doing a lot of mission dialogue. We want to do more things, but it's just not. We just don't have the resources because most of the resources being used for Squadron. This was at like CitizenCon, so like this wasn't like a secret meeting. I was just talking with him about it, and that's what he was saying. So. The bugs were more impactful in the experience than the story was. And I get that like they're working through the bugs and they're trying to improve of it. And, you know, this is sort of them testing out these events to see how narrative arcs work and such. So I'm not going to like shit on them too much for it. But because they're still getting used to doing this. Hey, Paul, did they attempt to foreshadow the Frontier Fighters because the Splicers wear the same armor and use the same shit paints as the Frontier Fighters? Never thought that they were being lazy. Possibly. They don't use the same color armor. They use the same armor, but different color. And it's like a lot of factions use that armor. So it's not really like if that was their intent, they failed. Like I will say that this event was interesting narratively. I'm doing a video on it for a reason. I think it's an interesting attempt at what they want to do in the future. And it's setting up some interesting stuff because they're hinting at things here and there, which is, in my opinion, good sort of long-term writing. And if you're going to do a long-term serialized story, you really need to think long-term in terms of like come up with the end first and then work your way to that point so that all of your stories end at the right place. I have a feeling that's what they're doing because of what they've done already, but CIG can also just accidentally write well. The armor ploy was actually a clever device, but there's no clue to signal such a device would ever be in play. There's no storytelling currency in this game yet. That's the problem. Yeah. Like, if there was some sort of voice line that said, dust up armor. That's interesting. This seems pretty clean for outlaw armor. Yeah, Castac, outlaws use Castac armor. This is very clean for Pyro. Wonder where they got this armor. You know, something like that. And then when the Frontier Fighters, you know, you talked with your, like, the person you're supposed to, like, work for, the Frontier Fighters, like, go report to them. And one of the options in the dialogue could be, why do you wear dust up? And they're like, oh, well, Castac arms, pretty good. You know, it's like, oh, it's pretty, pretty clean, right? Yeah, we try to keep it clean even here at Pyro. Or something like that. There needs to be some sort of, like, indication, some signal that you could hit that was like, oh, these guys fucking suck. And I know CIG's like, I'm sure the CIG narratives were like, well, they were genocidal maniacs from the beginning. We weren't subtle about that. It's like, no, you weren't. But a lot of that relied on outside sources, relied on videos, the previous missions that not everyone did, the like outside reading material, and nobody does fucking homework. Why did Halo 5 fail? Because it required homework to play the fucking game. And no one wants to do homework. The missions aren't also fun to play. I will, to a degree, they aren't. I feel like some of them are pretty okay. Like the missions where you had to go take on go assassinate a single target. Those were kind of fun. But they were fun because I was with a group. The fact that they had to jump across the system was a little annoying. But some of them are just boring. Like, there's no engagement, there's no twist, there's no it's just like the one where you go blow up the supplies. Just hover there and blow up the supplies. You're never gonna get challenged. Like, there's no challenge to it. There's no narrative story. Why am I blowing up these supplies? Because a mission document said I should blow up these supplies. There's no urgency, there's no payoff. It's just do thing. And do thing missions suck. No one likes doing things. That's why everyone jokes about kill 50 boar missions. I was reading your stuff there, comment baby. I got it. They need to accidentally make the game playable. They won't have money to write more story. They're doing on it. They're working on it. The problem I have right now with the community is that CIG is actively like, hey, we're working on it. I'll talk about that because that's my next capsule I'm gonna do. It's like they're actively working on improving the game. They're doing their best with what they have. It's gonna be a slow process. They have been very upfront about it. And it doesn't help that every 5 minutes someone says, we'll fix the fucking elevators. Like, yeah, no shit. Like, CIG has acknowledged it. They said they're going to do it. It doesn't help if you act like a fucking asshole every 5 minutes about it. Like, it's just fucking ridiculous at this point. Like, yeah, CIG said the elevators are broken. Like, fucking chill the fuck out. Goddamn. Hey, Flaro. Missions have to be engaging and moved away from the Moby, in my opinion. I agree. That's 100% agree. How you doing, Logan? Parrots are annoying, not charming. Yeah. Please stop with all this one of X, though. Nothing signals grind more than blatantly advertising the grind. Exactly. That's another good one thing to put out that. Not bad, NATO. I'm fired up because CIG is now in my territory. They're not talking about lore and narrative. So I can be like, now I can be shitting on CIG. Now I can take them to the outside the wood chipper and beat them until they listen. Listen, I got no problem with CIG doing clever little inserts of lore here and there in a mission to get people more engaged in the wider story. But nobody likes reading. I'm a little concerned about how the story stuff will be going forward. Maybe I misread the vibe, but it sounded like they may do a gotcha moment with some of the factions being good or evil, with little ways to explore more in game to have with little ways to explore that more in game to have a chance to find that out before you sign on beyond the obvious. It may feel kind of shitty later on if you signed on with someone and they turned out to be completely different. That's what I was saying, Van. I don't think they're necessarily doing that for everything. They were doing it for this one. But if their indication is to say, do not trust anybody you sign on with, you have to do some more research, then give them some fucking research to do, other than go to the website. That's a failure of game design. People criticized Bungie for doing that with Destiny, rightfully so, and plenty of other games have been criticized for that same thing. Do not fall into the same pattern. They also probably shouldn't start off with a gotcha. No, but they already did. Like that is already out of that cat's already out of the bag. Speak for yourself, Paul. I love reading. If you love reading, even reading the mission dialogue sucks because it doesn't offer any context. Like I'm harping on the reading thing because most people don't read mission dialogue because there's no reason to. If you like a good designer, this is someone who's an amateur who's not at all a professional game developer in any way, so you can completely ignore me if that's your criteria. But but I would ask you to hear me out as somebody who's been a dungeon master and a game master for TTRPGs for almost 25 years and have played with multiple different types of people. Again, not a professional. I've just done this a lot. And one of the things I've learned doing D&D and doing other games as a game master is that the point of making a game is to make it fun, to engage the player. Even if you're trying to punish them, if you're trying to break them, because some games are like designed like to do that, like Call of Cthulhu and Blades in the Dark. You know, they're designed, you're going to die no matter what. They want to be engaged. And there's nothing less engaging than handing them a piece of paper that says, go do this thing. It doesn't matter how good your game mechanics are, just saying, go do thing is not engaging. It is busy work. There needs to be a reason why players are doing things beyond, I get money and skin. Yeah, I did see those guys stealing station tours. That was awesome. Question: do you think CIG plans for 25? Do you think with CIG's plans for 25, do you think we will see more missions like Save Stanton, Fight for Pyro that actually stay more within the 1-2 patch cycles? Yes, that's for sure. You always want them to drawn into the world, feel the world, be part of the world. Anything that makes you go, man, step out of it, no, bad. Exactly, which is why I have been pounding on the drum that CIG needs characters. You need characters. You need characters for players to attach to. And all I have to do is point to 2.0. Tessa Bannister. People fucking clung to her like a safety blanket. She became everyone's favorite character. But look at any other games. Cade 6 is a great example of people were drawn to Cade 6 as a character. There are plenty of characters in fiction, and especially in video games, which people connect with and connect to. Joker from Mass Effect, but lots of good characters from Mass Effect. Rex and Garrus. Garrus, I think, is definitely people's, especially women's, favorite character in there. Mordian, another great character in Mass Effect. Liara. BioWare does a really good job of this, where you have a rogues gallery of characters that players can connect with and really connect with, connect with, like really identify with, whom they become good stuff. Dooley is good. People like Dooley if you put more Dooley in there. They've got characters, they need to use the characters they have. Exactly. They need to start utilizing these characters as storytellers, as people, as points upon which you can draw the characters, your players into the world and make them care. If you had a mission where you had to save Dooley and you went down to a bunker and you saw her absolutely mowing down Ninetales or Dusters or whatever, as she's just holding off the last stand, is like, took you fucking time to get here. Now back me up, I got shit to do. Keep them off me. And then have her go do a mission while you tried to defend her while like waves and waves of enemies come in, while she's swearing or doing other things, that kind of stuff. Like, people would care. People were like, Julie is a badass. Let us protect Julie. To make you, to make you feel like you're there to help Dooley, not the other way around. Like she doesn't need your help, but you're there to assist her, kind of thing. Walk into the first level couple, just corpses. Yeah, CIG is good at environmental storytelling. I know they are. They've shown that they are. Do that. Not even an escort mission, a protection mission, where like in a data center, right? You go into the bunker with a data center. Just everything is corpses. There's just like like Ninetales corpses everywhere, and you're just hearing staccato fire in the distance. You run up and you see Dooley sitting there, like with a P4, just shooting into Ninetales. And when she sees you, she goes, took your time getting here. Cover me. I got to get this hack. And so she runs off to go to the hack, and you got to protect her as like things are going on. She shouts out like, hey, do this. You know, the code is this. Go here and do that. You know, something like that. Like something to that degree where you're having to like do stuff. And even characters hate, like Trevor Bask. I will kill that fucker, I swear. You and Farisalt. If someone equips a Frontiers fighter skin with their skin, would it now make them shoot on sight target with the group being labeled as terrorists? It should be, but it probably won't. Paul, I could be wrong, but do you think the NPC narrative can be archived through instance zones? For example, an elevator leading to headhunter leader so you can do one-on-one combo? 100%. They have that ability, or they have that technology now, but, you know. I'll be right back. Hold this room, don't let anyone pass. Yeah, you don't even have to have her like actually be active. She could be in a room on her own telling you to hold the room and then having you do random actions while you're holding an area, protecting an area. Like, you need some reason to care. Right now, there is no reason to care about any of the actions that are going on. There's no buy-in, and CIG needs a buy-in. And the reason why I'm harsh right now is because I know they can do that. I've seen them right. They can do that. I've seen how they design missions. They can make fun missions. Like, they just need to take the writing and the missions and Keith. What about the announcer from Whitley's Guide? Can he have a mission involving him? I'm sure, but that actor you need to pay and that kind of stuff, you know? Most of the buy-in we have now, like anti-Hearst and anti-CFP, is all player-driven. Yeah, there's no indication directly in game that it exists. But the problem is that, like, what's the difference between the Frontier Fighters, the CFP, and the Headhunters? Vague aesthetics and like the types of missions you do. That's it. Like, that's not a good variety. I get that the point is that you give a mission type for every type of player who wants to play, which is a good indication. But if the answer is, hey, if you're a cargo hauler, go do CFP missions, and then the next phase is combat, those people who do hauling missions won't do that. And I don't think that was the intention. I think the intention is you're supposed to find a faction that you vibe with. But how the fuck do I know if I'm gonna vibe with them? There's no fucking way to find that out, other than their vague aesthetics. Sorry, I'm gonna get off of this a little bit too much, but I think it's very important that CIG sort of like thinks about that. Yeah, I wonder what the future will hold regarding narrative content. Instance zones are one thing. I know they talked about instance fights, but I wonder how hard it would be to implement. I'm no tech wizard. I don't imagine it would be too difficult because they already have simple dialogue exchanges with like Ticia and other mission givers, and they're all in their own unique areas. The key would be to just drop them off like how hangars are. That you just need to be able to transition between where you like the rest of the world and where they are into its own instance, and then you have those mission givers there or those characters there doing that system. They have instance and they have the character system. They just need to merge them. Of course, it's not a problem, but it's not easy because it's got bugs. But yeah, it's a good thing they made choosing rep based on what skins are the coolest. Very lore driven. Exactly. That's the problem. The poor descriptions were not enough for me to truly vibe with any factions. Exactly. The fact that more people are making decisions based off of the fucking skin they get rather than the factions that they're working with. See, it's almost like CIG knew that was going to happen, and then they were like, haha, you gotta pay attention. Like, that's stupid, though. You're just making people mad. Yeah, the Frontier Fighters one. They knew that they created the coolest skin with Frontier Fighters that people would enjoy it the most. Because one of them is literally purple skin, which I like, but everyone was shitting on the purple skins recently. And the other one's a red skin. It's like red or purple or the camo one. Oh, the camo one. Oh, what, the Frontier Fighters have you are giving you the missions to kill everybody and they pay you the most? Yeah, people are going to choose the one that kills everyone and gives you the best skins. Having the event where they don't tell you the rewards is lame, though. That's true as well. Green Drazi, purple Drazi, yes. They alienate portions of the user base because skins can only be applied to, what, 4 ships? Yeah. That's a completely different can of sardines. Speaking of which, other than money, there's no incentive, yeah. So camouflage, no one can see you're a bloody terrorist. Oh, Elliot. Heading side up to Drax, yeah. Another B5 reference. I will say again, I did more killing as a headhunter than a frontier fighter. Yeah, that's kind of what they do. Me seeing combat missions that pay the most, give a cool skin, and don't require elevators, I was hired to lead, not to read. That's the problem. Like, CIG needs to give more context to players. If players just want to go, fuck it, I'm going to go for the best paying one, they can. And then CIG needs to punish players for not reading. Or at least make sure that players understand there's a consequences for their actions. That's what they were trying to do with this one, but I think it's broken. Because I've never gotten positive rep with the headhunters, even though I worked with the headhunters. But because I was working with the headhunters, I am also not seeing negative rep with the CFP. Now, I don't think any of the headhunters missions were directly going against the CFP, but it's the thing still stands, you know? Yeah, but for the genocide faction, there's a starting lack of genocide. Yeah, there should have been some, like, no Russian missions. You should have just been shooting civilians who should be cowering from you as you're chasing them. But again, it's CIG. I did only CFP and only take their missions after the fact. I'm still neutral. Yeah. Like, I think their rep system is broken, or there's some bug that's preventing rep from allocating properly. The only thing I've seen is that if you chose Frontier Fighters, no one likes you. You have negative rep with both the Headhunters and the CFP. So you're not gaining any rep, you just lose rep. Not negative rep, just default to hostile. And you can't fix it for CFP, yeah. There's no off ramp. There's no improvement way. There's no like mea culpa. Let me drag myself back up to the CFP's good side. Does that actually work, PJ? They're like, there's still time. One. Okay. It needs to be added to the priority then. Oh. Why add it to priority when it's over in less than 2 weeks? It should be added, the off-ramp should be added as a way of showing those going on. Need an old Bethesda or Obsidian style rep system? Yeah, I mean, that's what I thought we were gonna get. Where like if you do a mission for a faction, then you'll lose reputation with the missions they're rivals with and gain reputation with what you have, but you can also then do missions for the other sides and then balance it out if you wanted to. You wouldn't get a higher rep missions, meaning no higher money missions or more advantages, but my main issue with the event is that there's no way you to see rewards in games, so you can't make a good judgment call on who you're going to support without going to Reddit or Spectrum. And those were leaks. Those weren't even like, I don't think they posted what actually was supposed to happen. Like what you got. Other than like the SMG. Did they post the ship skins on Spectrum? Before? It's just another example of that. And this is not me coming down hard on CAG saying like CAG sucks, they can never do this, they're awful. It's more like CAG needs to take this as a teachable moment. I don't think they will, because I don't think that they have the current ability to humble themselves to admit that they fucked up. But because they're so like head down, brain empty on Rule of Cool. But like, I'm hoping they do. If you're watching this after the fact, I'm not trying to insult anybody individually. I'm just saying, y'all came off real smug in that SCL or ISC. You shouldn't. Like, well, you should have known they're genocidal maniacs. How? Like, show me how. If the answer is anything other than the mission descriptions, you failed. And the mission descriptions didn't get genocidal until the second phase. No one knew. If Paul didn't care, he would bother going through all this. No, I wouldn't. Yeah, that's the answer. This is, of course, setting aside the fact that I had to try 30 missions to get 6 I could complete from all the bugs. I did CFP and I enjoyed it. I liked delivering the supplies, which is fine. But like I said, the missions aren't necessarily bad. Some of them are worse than others because they're not engaging, but there's no like tie-in. I feel like even if you're doing generic mission X, if that generic mission X had some lead in, some world building attached to it, some reason why I should give a fuck, it would do better. Because like I enjoyed the assassinating the targets missions from Headhunters, like where you had to go to a specific like cargo ship and blow it up. Like that was fine if I had some lead in being like, we've tracked down a frontier fighter's lieutenant. He's in this thing. Go kick his ass. Or we tracked down a head honcho. Go kill him. If that was just an audio line, fucking banger. Great. Now I know I gotta go kill this dude. You know. I need some environmental storytelling like the Legion with Nipton and New Vegas. Find an outpost littered with corpses and markings showing the player real quick what they're like. Yeah, no, like, if I was, again, complete amateur, take everything I say with a grain of salt, I'm just saying, I'm Monday morning quarterbacking at this point. So keep that in mind. If I were to try to say that the Frontier Fighters are maniacs, I would have had a mission where you go work with a bunch of Frontier Fighters who are already assaulting like an outpost and watch them as they just mowed down civilians. Where like the civilians were cowering and they'd walk up and they would say a line like "die motherfucker" or something like that and then shoot the cowering civilians. So that would be a great way of telegraphing, are we the baddies, Hans? Like, that would be it. That would be it. Like just that. And players may not be able to notice that because they don't give a shit. They're just there to kill everything. They just, the mission say kill, I kill. And that's fine. But the players who are paying attention might go, what? Now, I'm sure CIG has some of these ideas, you know, like a distress mission, and you get there to find them attacking an outpost, and you get to join. You can join, intervene, or watch. Intervene, watch, or join. Those are things that I'm sure CIG wants to do in the future. I don't think they have the technology to do it right now. They have to build that technology out. And maybe they are. Maybe it is one of those things that they're working on to improve the game, because they did talk about how they wanted to improve the mission system as one of their big features for improving the game right now. So like the feature that is missions is getting improved this year. But I don't know. But still, it's not in there. My problem is I stopped playing Destiny because I didn't like doing the same activity 5 times a week for 15 weeks. I want events to be chains, give us 6 different missions that build on each other. It's okay if they're like similar missions. Like there's nothing wrong with generic kill guy missions. It's just make me know why I kill guy. Like I think even a small little addition of like, this is a Ninetales lieutenant. You should go kill him because he is wanted for, he has a death penalty and 7 systems, whatever. Doesn't matter. Just like give me context for what I'm doing. No matter what I try, I can't get any fight for pyro missions to work. Like you can't get them to proc in your Mobiglass, or you can't get them. You can't do the mission. Get the mission to finish. I did 15 plus of phase 3. Its only purpose was money. I should have been. It should have been more, but I'll keep farming in the new HS. Yeah. Nothing spawns. Have you tried all of them? And guess what? It helps build the universe too. I saw some people commenting in that ISC or SCL, I think it's IC, that are like, I didn't sign up for story. There's not supposed to be a story in a sandbox game. And I was like, brother, you just didn't read. Your problem is you have you lack reading comprehension. Of course there's story. Every sandbox game has a story. It's just not a linear story typically. It's usually sort of atmospheric storytelling. And if there's an atmospheric storytelling, then it helps you tie to the universe. Yeah, Stefan, I don't know what to tell you about that. Are you saying like no cargo is spawning when you do the cargo missions, no ships are spawning when you do the ship missions, no NPCs are spawning when you do the asteroid missions or the base missions? And it's really easy for me to say all these things because I'm not coding a video game. But I feel like a lot of the stuff I just suggested isn't too difficult. Like, it's stuff that they have the ability and have done in the past. Siege of Orison, great example. There is no video mocap for Siege of Orison. It's all audio. It's all audio logs with a little like logo in the corner where you hear people talk. They could do that. They have to hire voice actors, but they could do that. Siege of Orison is really well done. And I know Elliot wants to get it done more often and wants that sort of to be more of the standard. It was just a lot of bespoke stuff, which is why they didn't want to kind of do it again. But yeah. My first mission worked. Then when I did see the Frontier Fighters, now the fuel tanks don't show and the guys don't spawn. Have you tried server mesh or server jumping, or server hopping? Have you tried the other Frontier Fighters missions? There's 2 Frontier Fighter missions. Maybe it's because I did something stupid with the Siege of Orison. And decided to fist fight my way through. But when I got to the end of Siege of Orison for the first time, I was half naked, giving an inspiring speech as we charged down the gantryway into the final combat, where we're running. We charged down screaming as I was punching my way through Ninetales, and it felt like the end of Infinity or of Endgame. In terms of that moment, but that was because I made it like that, not because CIG made it like that. I'm probably a little bit more biased because of that. Actually, I got to prove you can solo Ren in a light armor. Was fun. It was fun. Ah, you took the Elder Scrolls path. It's a multi-layer problem. I can't get the missions to spawn a lot of the time. When they do spawn, they're bugged as fuck, where I can't QT to the mission markers, and it's several hour trip to them. So based on the other missions, half the time I don't even register. I kill the dudes. I give up after 1 to 1.5 hours. So I've made 0 progress. Have you worked with anybody else? Try to get anybody else to work with? Well, it's where oh, why am I blanking on his name? Senator Arm N. Strong, the true son of Stanton, comes from. He will fight for your rights with his fists. Ah, that's a good one there, AgroJag. Yeah, that's true. If this marker doesn't spawn, use Alt F4 to kill the game and then log right back in. That should reset the marker to allow you to jump. It's a workaround, but it works. I loved working with random Siege of Orison. We just found an A2 and started using it to cause absolute havoc, rallied everyone, and started picking people up and assaulted the last platform and wiped out the PKers with an aerial bombardment before landing to deal with the NPCs. See, that shit kind of is fun. Like, and that's the thing. People go, oh, well, Siege of Orison was fun. That was Elliot. Like, Elliot made that mission. Like, it's really good. Like, I know Elliot can do engaging missions. I know we can do fun missions. Like, just do that. I know it's easy to say, just do that with what Star Citizen is now, because I'm sure you couldn't do Siege of Orison with what you have right now, but like... Is there a lore reason why the coffee from Loreville is so thick it's almost chewy? A spiral. It's Loreville. Are you sure that's all coffee? Do you know how much that atmosphere is just sludge? Is there a lore reason why the planet that is mostly toxic waste has coffee that looks like toxic waste? Eat your coffee like a good Loreville resident. The workers should be taught by their betters. Fucking Hurstons. Still working on that video. I'm waiting for my editor to finish up his the complete history. Then I'll hand him that one. It's fun. Now we wait for who among us hasn't played Metal Gear Rising to get the Armin Strong reference. Oh, I gotta talk to Knowledge. Are you here? That's the character I'm gonna play in any roleplay scenario from now on. Is Senator Armin Strong, the true son of Stanton, who's gonna try to get representation in the Senate for Stanton. The best part of waking up is Loreville in your cup. Oh, God. What, they didn't know that that it was environmental smog and put into a mug? Loreville smog pudding? I've always said Loreville needs a mascot too. A teddy bear wearing a bag hat with an inhaler in one paw. I feel like if you did a Loreville mascot, it has to be a little chibi. What's his name? Archibald Hurston, the first Hurston. Armin Strong seems like the kind of person that would have a full press response to allegations of his alleged affiliation with the Slicers. Allegedly. Exactly. Ghost understands. For those of you who don't know, a joke about Armin Strong is that Armin Strong came up, we just kind of created this character out of nothing. He is born in Loreville. Okay? He was born in Loreville. When he was old enough, he scraped up enough money, or he went off to join. He scraped enough money to go to college in. He got a scholarship to go to a college in microtech, where he paid his way through college with underground fist fighting boreal stalkers. So he did illegal underground fights against boreal stalkers to pay his way. And then when he graduated college, he became patriotic and joined the UE military. And in the military, he was at the Battle of Vega and personally personally killed a Vandal with his bare hands. And after that, he was discharged from the military and then returned to Stanton, where he worked in the PR department for Crusader. And then left Crusader and founded his own company, Armin Strong Incorporated, which produces plushy toys and components for antimatter bombs. And that's when he is. That's where he has decided to run for office as a citizen. It was technically medical discharge, yes. Welcome everyone from Angry PC Sex Stream. What's up, y'all? So I have everything turned off because I'm gonna do some recording here in a moment. Did he play Cyberball in college? He did play Cyberball in college. Yes, they also produce elevators. They produce elevators, weapons of components for weapons of mass destruction, and plushes. Oof, where's my cervical collar? Got whiplash from that backstory. Listen, Jack, I played Cyberball in college. His main goal in life right now is that he believes that he can get representation on the Senate for Stanton because he thinks he can make an exception because the Senate doesn't want to have Stanton be represented or any individual planet represented because it would then represent the interests of the corporations and not the people. So Armin Strong's argument is instead of having it be for individual representation for each planet, that the entire system gets one representative, because then all of their different interests would be competing interests would be canceled out, and then it would let the people decide who would decide what they would want, the citizens who live in each area. So no one group would necessarily have too much power over the other, and they'd require a lot of negotiation. And of course, he's the perfect man for that job because he is literally the son of Stanton. Born and raised, worked in every single company because his personal company is located in Area 18, is an ArcCorp. So Armin Strong Incorporated is in ArcCorp. Could have gone pro. Exactly. And then I can make his ultimate goal is to build a weapon to surpass Metal Gear, a giant mecha. I've thought about running a Star Citizen TTRPG using Heavy Gear 4E as the base system so people can get some banger ship and vehicle customization. Armin Strong could make a great team with Tiny Tina from Borderlands. But yes, if you see me role-playing in the game, it's most likely going to be that character. So don't shake hands with Senator Strong. You can shake hands with Senator Strong. Your arms may be ripped off, but you know. God, Armin Strong and Tiny Tina character. Will Armin Strong put bells in his hair, on his hair? Only if it's culturally relevant. He's very culturally sensitive. He does believe that you can solve all problems with violence by your bare hands. Taking strong arming politics to a whole new level. Listen, Stanton needs strong arms to protect it. Howdy, Paul. What kind of content do you think we'll start seeing in Star Citizen? I'm trying to imagine a version of Star Citizen driven by content, and it's kind of foggy to you. It's because Star Citizen's too buggy for you to see it. It's not too difficult because we know that the Rich Tyre, who's the new kind of driving force behind the verse, he's an MMO gamer. He plays a lot of MMOs. So his vision for the verse is going to be very MMO based. I would expect dailies, weeklies, and kind of what we're seeing with this Save Stanton / Fight for Pyro, this sort of event that's going on. That's what we're going to see. content is going to be delivered through missions, which will then have you choose sides, and then you'll do a series of missions, and those missions will pay out. And so that's your kind of incentive to come in and play, because those missions will pay you more money and give you reputation and give you something at the end of them. And then they'll also add new missions, that aren't connected to that, maybe new factions and other things like that. Hey, Susan Joel. I can only see in my head Armin Strong ripping off a suit to expose an Arm and Hammer baking soda sponsor. He would. The bad thing is that they rely on FOMO too much. Destiny 2 relied on that too, and it's a very detriment. It was very detriment. I think that the main thing that CIG should do, and this is just me personally, based off of what I know, what I anticipate is going to happen, is that CIG should come out and say, all of these events we're running right now will be run again right before we launch. So all of the stories of Save Stanton, Fight for Pyro, the Overdrive, Xenothreat, all of those should be run one more time right before when they go from alpha to beta, before they go to 1.0. That way, everyone has a chance to play it one more time before they go to live. I feel like if they did that, it would lessen it would lessen the bitterness if people just can't do it. Because a lot of people can't do these things because they're sick, or they're busy, or they don't have the computers for it yet. And there's a lot of people who are following this, but they want to participate in it. They need a new PC, exactly. Yeah, not everyone's going to come in at the same time. And if the whole intent of this is sort of to be like the prologue for the main story, like you kind of get a little bit of a backstory of what's going on, it would give a little bit more incentive for people to play it again. I know they want to sort of make it so that players are engaged with it, but if you said, hey, we will run this again but in beta before we go live, I think it would go over well, because people will go, oh, well, I can't play it right now because of a litany of issues. I would love to play this when this game isn't buggy, when this game is better, when all that kind of stuff. That would be nice, but right now I'm pissed. Every time I've had to run these missions, I've had to give up 1 to 2 hours of game time and made 0 progress due to bugs. I also say this idea that I'm just, not the idea that I'm saying, but the idea that CIG is going to be doing these sort of narrative arcs as the engagement for players to come in as content, it's a compromise. We're getting that instead of new features so that CIG can still try to promote the game and get people engaged to play the game while they fix the problems. Unfortunately, we're in the early stages where CIG is still fixing the problems and still wants engagement. It's just how it's going to be. Hopefully it'll improve in the first place, and I get it's frustrating because things break. I've had things break on me a lot in Star Citizen. It's one of those things, but could we finally get our bar go up gameplay with these missions for Fight for Pyro? CIG is evaluating at the end of the cycle. Fine, they did more missions than HH. Let's give them the majority. I'd love to see that, but I don't think I hate having artificial bars where people are competing against each other because it doesn't make any sense in verse. I also know that CIG wouldn't do it because they want to hide those facts. So if in case players do something they don't want, they can just throw out the data and just throw it in there. CIG's already said that these missions won't run again. I know they have said that. But also CIG goes back on their word all the time. So I wouldn't be surprised if they did it, and I'd like them to go back on their word and say that this is what they're going to do again in the distant future. Theoretically, if stability improved this year, then they would only really need to rerun this year's events. That's what I mean. I feel like CIG is hamstringing themselves by saying they won't run this again, because all they're going to do is that's the new thing that people are going to focus on. You're doing FOMO missions that nobody cares about because it's all broken. But I'm going to be bitter because I have to spend 17 hours for a 6-mission loop because of most of it is bugs, or I'm getting no progress and I'm just getting frustrated in the game. There's so many things wrong with the Fight for Pyro missions, because it's solo, which makes no sense in a multiplayer game with multi-interactions. The reputation doesn't fucking work. The twist sucks ass. The story is given through mission dialogue, or not mission dialogue, like mission text. The actual game is mostly unengaging. Like maybe a handful are actually engaging. This would also give CIG test mission system one final time before 1.0, especially with larger groups of people who would be actively playing by the time they fix the major problems. Wait, Fight for Pyro is solo? I haven't done any missions yet because most of the bugs and my buddies and I were planning to do them over the weekend. You can still do them with groups, but the missions themselves are solo based. So like if you have a mission to go to this spot in space and go kill a ship, only you see that. You can fly your buddies with you to that, or your buddies can fly to you with that and help you out. And if they kill the target, you still get credit for it, but it's all solo. Yeah. Yeah, it's trivial with some of the missions if you do it with a Polaris or multi-crew. We did a couple of missions with a Polaris, some fighter escorts, and like with crewed out, fucking cakewalk. The only mission that stretches solo for Hammerhead, which is the convoy strike. Yeah, some are way harder than you would expect. Do not expect to do it with a starter ship. No. Oh, I wouldn't expect to do this at all with a starter ship. It's definitely not starter friendly. I knew it was going to be signing up for something that would be an MMO, but I was kind of hoping it wouldn't be better to do your daily set of MMO. Like, damn, I just want to play the game. From what I gather how CIG is going to do this is they're not going to just add these sorts of daily mission things like we've seen with, or weekly mission things like we've seen with the sort of phased chapter missions. They're also going to be adding other mission types into the game as they go through, so the missions should expand overall in general. But I still expect to see some of those sorts of engagement bait come in and do these sorts of things, even if it's just to keep your rep up. Yeah, the server ship one would think was poorly balanced. Just too many damn ships that are missile happy. All of the ships are missile happy, and you can't ignore or like get them away. That one, I think, needed engineering and armor. Yeah. The problem is that the current missions feel like they were designed for 4.0 as it was supposed to launch. And since they didn't get it, they had to sort of make do with what they had. All right. I've been streaming for 2 hours. Let's get this comms dive thing done. Kind of talk a little bit more about fixes, and we'll get started. All right. Hello, and welcome to another Office Hours capsule. That's right, a small section of my Office Hours live stream you can catch live on twitch.tv/TheAstroPub, youtube.com/TheAstroPub, live on Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. I'd love to have you come down and join the chat here as we talk about Star Citizen lore, news, and more every week. Today, we're going to be looking at what is effectively CIG's new update system, a version of their update system called the Comms Dive. But we're going to look a little bit deeper than that with some other things of talk about the sort of things that CIG is working on to improve and add to the game in the short term. There's a lot of cool stuff that's been coming out with just devs talking, and of course, 4.0.2 around the corner. So I think of this as a little update on how this year is going so far, with the drive towards fixing the game first and then adding features second. And we'll talk a little bit about that at the end as well, so to kind of clarify from what we've heard about from other developers. With that, let's get started by reading the Comms Dive from February 10th, 2025. All right. Hi, everyone. Last November, we released our first Star Citizen Comms Dive to tackle some of your most pressing questions. Your feedback made it clear how much this initiative matters to you. So we're excited to bring back the SCCD number 2 with more to follow. If you're new to this, SCCD is an initiative on Spectrum where we round up the topics discussed and chase down information and updates directly from the development team. If you missed the first one, you can still check out SCCD number 1 on Spectrum. While we may not be able to respond to every comment or thread, rest assured we are absorbing everything and chasing answers. Your engagement is what makes this project special, and Comms Drive is another way for us to acknowledge the importance of your discussions and keep the information flowing. Thank you for your incredible energy you bring to the community. As always, we truly appreciate your feedback. Let's get into some key topics. Quantum fuel values. The quantum fuel capacity of ships has been carefully determined based on the size groupings and archetype classifications we use internally. Each ship falls into the following categories: snub, light, medium, heavy, dropship, gunboat, corvette, or frigate. For the most part, quantum fuel capacity remains consistent across ships within the same size group. However, there are a few notable exceptions where additional considerations may come into play. Exploration ships. Ships with an exploration role receive additional quantum fuel capacity on top of their archetype baseline, ensuring they can tackle long-range journeys. Special purpose ships. Cargo haulers, miners, and other specialized ships are still grouped by size but may have extended fuel capacity to better suit their roles. These are often adjusted on a case-by-case basis. Component variations. Some ships might physically align with one size group, but feature components typically found in another. This can sometimes make their quantum fuel economy appear slightly unexpected, but remains balanced within the design context. As Star Citizen evolves and expands, introducing new systems, mission types, and customization, fuel balance will continue to be a work in progress. Long-range travel demands will scale alongside the game, and we're committed to adapting as needed. Your input is invaluable in this process. We're always monitoring, and if we identify that a ship's quantum fuel capacity needs an adjustment, we'll review and refine it accordingly. We've also increased the quantum fuel tank sizes for all ships in the recent 4.0 PTU patch. Okay. Hey, realistic audio progress update. To deliver more seamless and realistic audio experiences, we've had to improve how we structure our sound mixing. This process is mostly complete, though a few edge cases still remain and still need attention. The demo we presented at CitizenCon 2953 showcased isolated test cases that had been reworked specifically for that feature. Now we need to apply this work to the game as a whole, which, as you can imagine, is a significant task, but one we're excited about. While we can't confirm a date, We're just as eager to get this work fully integrated into the game as many of you are. It's on good track so far, and we'll share more with you as we progress through the development. Volt Weapons Progress Update. Hi, Volt Guy. Hi, Volt Guy. Volt Weapons bring a fresh, new manufacturer aesthetic to the Star Citizen universe, something we don't get to introduce often. This series will also debut a new damage and ammo types, expanding combat options in new, fun ways. There's a lot of lore for Volt, too. They're kind of a cheap version of energy weapons. They're designed as a very cost-effective use weapon, so you see a lot of them in the kind of the frontier. We're happy to share that we're getting close to releasing the full lineup of Volt weapons in the PU. With most of the features work for the new ammo and damage types wrapping up, our weapon artists are taking early 2025 to add the final polish to each asset. We're targeting a Q2 rollout with regular releases to follow. Pretty ballsy, I think, to say that, but all right, so June, okay. This marks the beginning of the more consistent stream of weapon content as the weapon team wraps up their work on Squadron 42 and shifts their focus towards expanding Star Citizen's arsenal. Ooh, lots of Volt stuff. Volt Rifle. We first showcased an early version of this weapon in CitizenCon 2953. And while it's evolved since then, its core function remains the same, starting out as a traditional assault rifle before transitioning into a powerful beam weapon. For a bit of fun dev insight, one of the challenges we're tackling is how the weapon handles recoil when switching from projectiles to beam. Right now, it shifts between two separate recoil records, which isn't something our current tech supports. To fix this, we're improving the system to allow for a smooth transition, shifting from the sharp, punchy recoil of an assault rifle to the controlled precision of a focused beam. So it's going to be like you fire and it's just like da 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 da, and as it kind of as it ekes up, it goes into a straight stream, and then instead of having to like hold back with the recoil, you can kind of just hold it, and it'll just beam. I guess it'll just overheat at that point. Volt Shotgun. This one's a blast. Literally. As it heats up, it fires more pellets, making it an absolute menace to extended firefights. With a large mag size and solid heat detention, it's shaping up to be one of the scariest shotguns in the verse. But beware, push it too far, and you might find yourself struggling at the start compared to more traditional options. Oh, and the sound? Right now, it practically rips a hole into space itself when fired. It's incredibly meaty. Every shot feels like pure devastation. Some crazy Unreal weapons. That's fine. That's good. Unreal Tournament. Some Quake weaponry. Volt Sniper, a terrifying fusion of the Scalpel and AO3. The Volt Sniper cracks up its RPM as it heats up, making a high-risk, high-reward beast. Mastering its recoil and heat management will separate the deadly from the doomed. Those who can handle it will dominate. And if its mechanics don't intimidate your enemies, its sheer size will. The thing is an absolute unit, easily the most imposing sniper in our arsenal. Just spotting one aimed in your direction should be enough to make anyone think twice. Volt Pistol. The Volt Pistol is rapid fire and RPM increases to the longer you fire it, to account for firing for extended periods. It has a large battery for a weapon its size, giving you the opportunity to use it in a less powerful state for long periods, or run it hot to give some nasty rapid-fire surprise. Yeah, Volt Guy had a lot of fun. Ooh, this is another good one. Vehicles and Freight Elevator Progress Update. The team is prioritizing improvements related to vehicles on freight elevators, but first, the focus is on improving the quality of life aspects of freight elevators to make them more user-friendly, such as enabling mining bags to be sold directly from the warehouse, and the commodity redistribution feature, which will allow players to split and merge boxes more easily. Neat. So we're not going to see vehicles for a bit. They're still working on making the current cargo system a little bit more flexible, which seems nice. I'd much prefer that than vehicles right now, honestly. I know a lot of people are looking for vehicles, but right now the fix is pretty simple. You call up a vehicle first into a pad, and then you drive it off to the side, and you call up your main vehicle. I know it can be a little buggy at times, but it's a simple workaround. It's once they get everything working out. So, follow up on the full screen mode. The mouse confinement with multiple monitors has been fixed. The mouse was moving onto other screens briefly before. The engine now fully supports playing the game in any aspect ratio on any monitor in full screen mode. This means it's possible to play with widescreen aspect ratio and 16:9 monitor if desired, i.e. with black bars at the top and bottom. Interesting. Capital letters with accents. We're working on replacing the 2D text renderer, and its replacement should handle accents and ligatures better than it currently does. We'll let you know when we have more news on it. We look forward to your continued participation in Spectrum. Keep an eye on Dev Tracker to follow the most recent comments from our team, and watch Star Citizen Live video on More Stable Universe to hear about our 2025 ambitions. Thanks for sharing your passion and feedback with us. So, pretty good. Generally speaking, I think there's a lot of good updates there. The full screen mode is nice, and the elevators are pretty nice. The Volt guy had a lot of fun. The realistic audio stuff was pretty interesting, and the quantum fuel stuff is just more kind of clarification of what's going on. I imagine a lot of this stuff's going to be dialed in, but a lot of this isn't really new things as much as it's stuff they've already talked about or stuff they already have, and they're sort of manipulating, kind of getting in there. Now, in terms of other big updates, this is an update from Wayne. Wayne CIG. Oop, that's not what I wanted. Hey everyone. We noticed some questions about the stealth capabilities of the Ghost Hornet Mark 1 and Mark 2 and its Ghost Center cap attachment. So we wanted to give you a quick update. The current situation now. Right now, the Hornet Ghost stealth performance, dramatically reduced signature, is purely tied to the Void Armor, which is backed into its variant chassis. What's planned? Our goal is to ultimately have a component like the Ghost Center cap attachment significantly modify a ship's signature. Once this tech is fully implemented, a big chunk of the Hornet Ghost stealth capabilities will come from the Ghost Center cap attachment itself. The Void Armor on the Ghost chassis will still provide some benefit, just not to the same extent as it does now. That means if you swap out the Ghost Center cap attachment for a different compatible center attachment, the Hornet Ghost will lose significant portion of its stealth capabilities. Conversely, if you install the Ghost Center cap attachment on a different Hornet variant, that ship will see a noticeable stealth boost. We can't share a timeline with these changes yet, but we'll keep you posted on these things as they progress, which is very cool. That's likely tied to the scanning updates, which they've been working on in the background for quite a while. So interesting that they're already having these plans out there. So it's clear that the features aren't being finished, as you could also see with the comms drive. They're still working on features. It's just probably not as priority as it used to be. The last one, which is important to see, is an update for 4.0.2. Quick update to avoid replying multiple times. We have updated a fix as of 4.0.2_9519347 that should address the performance loss when in atmosphere/gravity caused by expensive updates to the flight HUD. Should be in the next 4.0.2 PTU build. We have confirmed internally that this fix addressed the main culprit. You'll see a significant performance dip between first and third person in ships while in atmosphere, or if you see the significant first and third person while in atmosphere, please let us know. Here's a relevant IC report. Thanks. So, we're getting some improvements in terms of performance as well. Now, is this perfect? Like, we're getting fixed for all elevators are now fixed, and the hangars no longer eat your ships? Obviously not. It's still being a ways away. But this is nice that they're kind of being more open about what's going on. I'm linking this in chat for those of you who want it, the actual comms drive. But there's the other thing that was mentioned. I don't have the quotes right here, but it was mentioned by Jared on Twitter that, responding to Zero State and to Space Tomato, that the way they're doing features now is that in the past they would focus on features first, bug fixes second, and then release that into the wild. And if the bug fixes didn't quite make it, they would be cut or pushed onto the next patch, like a sub patch. Now it's the opposite. It's fixes first, features second, and if features aren't done, then they get pushed to the next patch. So the fixes are the priority, while features are still getting help. They're not the main focus of the game. So that doesn't mean they're not doing features. It just means that they're not doing features immediately. So what does that mean overall for all of this? from what we've seen so far and from what they've talked about, it feels like what their focus is going to be this year is heavily on fixing content. And if the fixing content gets in the way of features, they're not going to bother with the features. The features are going to come in when they come in, and instead, all of those sort of efforts are going to be into fixing those problems. Hopefully they continue with that. It's only the second month of the year, and there seems to be a lot more movement in that direction. But as always, I want to hear your thoughts down below. Do you think CIG is just doing smoke and mirrors? Are they blowing smoke up your ass with all of this talk and these updates? Or do you believe CIG is actually attempting to get to this, get down to brass tacks and fix the problems? Make sure you let me know in the comments down below. If you did enjoy this, make sure you hit that follow button, like the video for more content, and hit the bell icon to be notified when these release. Thank you for watching, and like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black. I was counting down because it's 20 seconds. Now they're pissing on my head and telling me it's raining. Hey, Defanos. This is what everyone has been asking for, is fixing the game. I think the two major fixes, if CIG can get them done in the next 3 to 6 months, is the elevators and the hangar. If CIG can get the elevators and the hangars fixed, most of the other things are minor in comparison. Yeah, missions not procking sucks, but people don't have to do all of the missions. Everyone has to use a hangar and everyone has to use elevators. Yeah, the transitions. The transitioning ships from one thing to another and transitioning players from one place to another. Those need to get worked on. I'm not surprised a lot of that got worse because of 4.0 though, because I mean, literally brand new background architecture, but we'll see. Missions not populating combined with not completing is a huge problem. I don't disagree, but I don't think it's nearly as much of a problem as people getting out of the fucking hangar. Bro, you just said they should fix the elevator, bro. Yes, I know, and everyone was. I just made a joke about how everyone's saying fix the elevators. It's not a funny joke. It isn't a funny joke. It doesn't help. It's really fucking annoying. Especially after CIG has gone out and said, yes, we need to fix the elevators. Yes, we agree we need to fix the elevators. People saying, fix the elevators is annoying. What I was saying is, that's the problem, is that everyone focuses on that, and if CIG actually fixed those problems, a lot of those kind of complaints would go away. There'd still be problems, and there's still issues to kind of fix, but yeah, both are big and need to be fixed. There's no point in fixing the missions if you can't get out of the hangar. That's more important. Hangars and elevators are more important than the missions. And a lot of the problems with missions not working probably have to do with the transitions in the first place. Yeah, it probably flew over. It's been 8 years of fixing elevators. Depends. Some patches elevators are better than others. I think that we should really hammer down on the social features, at least at some point this year. It's very important to get some sort of function to block people. I think, not just to block people, I think in general, social features need to get updated because we don't even have MMO features in an MMO. They need to get that should be a priority in my opinion for this year, but we're not going to see it. Yeah, they've fixed elevators several times and then rebroke them with new features. All places should have landing pads that you can walk to as backup for server issues, in my opinion. All of them do. I think the only one that doesn't have them is Area 18. But every single other location has landing pads. All of the stations have landing pads. You can land outside of Lorville and take a train into Lorville itself at the gates. You can land outside at the bottom of Microtech. There's like an area where you can like spawn vehicles and leave. You can get there and get into the game. And Orison might be the only one you can't as well. I mean, another one you can't. But that also relies on like the trams working. The Commons at MT, yeah. Also the Commons, yeah. They've already started tweaking things like chat in 402. Yeah, they have had some updates. I'll pull some of the stuff, some of the pictures you managed to get there. Pull those up. Here we go. This is the way they're doing chat now. Then they also have the HUD. They've talked about stability and improvements, but the walk is still missing. It's February. it's literally the second week of February. CIG just got back to work like 2 weeks ago in terms of full staff, if that. Yeah, my redeems. I'll turn it back on. Do y'all think if Pyro Stanton chats should be separate? I think they shouldn't even have chats. I think the chats should be planetary based. There shouldn't be a global chat, but that's just me. I don't know. I think they're walking the walk that we just haven't seen the results yet. Yeah. It takes time. CIG is a fucking tanker, not a speedboat. For them to actually show results, it's going to take them 3 months. Oh, the other thing is turned off too. Hold on. There we go. You should be able to see it now. Oh, you did a biddies. I didn't realize that. I'm a pout now. I'm a TTS. I'm sorry. You know I was in recording mode. I turned that stuff off. Chat should be system-based, and system chat should go offline with comms relays. I'd see that. I could see that too. I'm just saying it's kind of easy to read chat and be like, oh, a piece of candy. What do you mean? I don't get that. They need new people doing the HUDs. You know, they have basic UI design training. They keep doing basic accessibility wrong.
Dem biddies.
Hello and welcome, Paul. Here at Aegis, our elevators work, but only on our Redeemers, your favorite ship. Since you are personally responsible for everything Sid does, please fix the elevators in the stations to Aegis standards, not inferior Drake Janak. If you do so successfully, we'll release you from Pleasure and send you on an all-expenses paid trip to Horizon, the city in the clouds.
No, I don't think I will. What 3 things would you need to see from CIG this year to start actually recommending their game to others? The big thing is probably missions working, the transit systems working, and reliable accessing your ship. Like, those are the 3 big ones. Missions are the third option, the third point of that. I feel like I could reliably recommend people playing the game if you could get into your ship and fly around, because it's a sandbox game. And so part of being a sandbox game is just flying around and doing shit. Like, that's fine. As long as missions were fixed shortly after that. So are you going to play the new and exciting space game tomorrow for the first week trial? You know, Eve Frontier? The fuck is Eve Frontier? Spectrum chat should be similar to social media. You have an app open to get it. I agree. I think that would be good too. Yeah, it rings a little hollow to talk about CIG's cool narrative stuff when it's inaccessible. It's a compromise. Like, honestly, it's a compromise. The reason why we have the cool narrative stuff is because they can't do features. Because they can't rely on features, they have to rely on the narrative. So until they get it fixed, it's just going to suck a little bit. But they have to do it in order to try to drive up interest. It's Crypto Eve Online? Nope. Gonna die faster than fucking a meme coin. I at least I have not put new money in for over a year due to their decisions. Trouble, you just sound like you've been having a bad time overall. Engineering this year? Probably. I don't know. Before I was like, yeah, CIG is likely going to release it in like Q2. But with CIG's new direction of like, hey, we're going to do features second, knowing how fucked up the features are at CIG, like how bad they release features in Star Citizen, I wouldn't count on it until summer, like August. It's literally EVE Online mobile game crypto. I don't know if I have to tell people this, because especially if you've been watching me long enough, I don't fucking like Web 3.0. I think Web 3.0 is a scam. It's stupid. It doesn't make any sense. I'm actually a little bit more okay with AI. The problem is that AI is not at all what it should be. I think AI is also a scam. It's just where all of the Web 3.0 people went when like NFTs died. It just has a little bit more legitimacy because, you know, it can be a tool if they use it right. It's just stupidly expensive. What everyone's calling AI is not AI. It's not, but it's a tool. You know, we've had tools for artificial intelligence for a while now. The problem is that it's a buzzword to say AI. So some people get freaked out when some people talk about AI, and it's like, oh, LLMs. It's like, no, the AI has been around a lot longer than LLMs, and some of it's still used. Like there's AI moderation tools for things like Reddit and you know, other social media platforms, which are built specifically, like the algorithm of YouTube is an AI. It's just its own version of an AI. And it's designed to be one very specific thing. It's called an expert system. It's just designed to do one thing very, very well. And there are lots of these that have existed for 30 years. It's now the new buzzword, so everyone either freaks out or gets mad at it. I talked about this before, but there's when I lived in North Austin, like North Austin, there was a place that we'd drive by, me and my wife would drive by going to, I want to say like a Sonic or something like that, called like Saber Electronics or something like that, like Saber Systems. And the reason it was called Saber Systems was because it was obviously founded when sabermetrics was all the rage, and it was the new buzzword that everyone were using. So everyone was naming their companies after the buzzword because they can get investments. That's all it is. Put AI in something and people will invest in it because they're stupid. Because your average vulture capitalist is a fucking moron. The actual tools for LLMs aren't actually a bad idea. Like, I can see LLMs being a fantastic tool if they were cheap, like DeepSeek is a good example of that one. If you could use something that was pretty cheap, you could use those tools for customer service jobs. Because a lot of stuff can be automated for automated features to deal with most problems for FAQs. Even for like IT things, you could probably automate a lot of that with just sort of these basic systems that can, you don't have to have an IT guy going, did you turn it off and turn it back on again? Holy fuck. It can be used for, you know, touch-ups on image generation, stuff like that. It can't replace an artist. It can't replace an IT engineer. It can't replace customer service because that's stupid. It's not smart. It's just a stupid chatbot. But it's a really good chatbot. Hey, Red Samurai. And that's about as far as I go with AI, because there's a lot of other ethical issues that come with it. Well, the recent reasoning models are insane. They really will change the future and fast. Society truly isn't ready. One of my hobbies outside of Star Citizening is Hugging Face / AI scene. It's going to be crazy when they start putting them in the robots. AI alignment will probably never work, but it doesn't work with people either. I don't think so. I think what we're seeing is smoke and mirrors. Even if it's reasoning pretty well, it's too expensive to run. When I was younger, people kept saying that self-checkout and checkout screens and those sorts of things were going to replace, you know, if you paid people too much money, then self-checkout would, like if you raise minimum wage to $10 an hour, $15 an hour, then all of minimum wage workers would be fired and they would be replaced with automated machines because they're easier to run and they don't cost as much. Those things are still here and those people still work, even in places that pay higher than minimum wage. I know, I go to places like HEB or, you know, any McDonald's. They all have automated systems, but they don't replace the workers because automated systems just don't work well enough. They don't think they will ever work well enough just because humans are flawed and machines are only as good as humans make them. Which is one of the reasons why I do not trust anything AI related in video games, especially with Star Citizen, because I don't think it will work as well as people think. No, the maintenance will catch up to them. Self checkout machines cost money in maintenance. Yeah. What was I trying to say? I just decided to. People like it when I wear the gold. So I decided to tap my inner Hurston. We're going to be wrapping up here shortly because I need to get finish doing some editing stuff for the latest Astro Historian stuff. And I also need to edit the 2 videos I just did. Running LLMs is not that expensive. Training it is massively expensive to use other people's work and hit a lot of their costs. The actual models that I've seen in terms of storage space are egregiously large. Like I know the systems that some people put together with like ChatGPT and voice mods for like Skyrim, it was like bigger than the game itself to be able to run it. Some of these are incredibly expensive in some way, shape, or form. We're not away from we're not getting away from scarcity. There's going to be some expense tied to it. If it's not because of power, it's because of cooling, it's because of data size. There's going to be some significant cost to them. That's actually funny. Funny you say that, Vast, and self-checkouts are out because guests don't use them. That's actually not true. Recent data has shown that more people are using self-checkouts than ever before. In fact, the younger you are, the more likely you are to use self-checkouts. The problem with self-checkouts is that people just steal. In the United States, especially. People will just steal shit if they see nothing but self-checkouts. The distilled models are pretty small. The DeepSeek R1 distilled model introduced recently is only about 8 gigabytes, so will run near real time on computers that run Star Citizen. No, I agree. Yeah, that's one example. But there's still going to be costs involved with it, some way, shape, or form. And that's an open source model. But we're not talking when we talk about DeepSeek R1. We're not talking about the same sort of reasoning engines that you were talking about earlier that you can put into robots and go crazy. They're completely different beasts. R1 is basically just a distilled version of ChatGPT, which is impressive on its own because it was built using shittier stuff. But there's still costs related to it. Like what I was the point I was saying is that like it's not going to do what everyone thinks it's going to do. It's gonna do stuff, but it's not going to be nearly as world-breaking and revolutionary as everyone's making it to be. Like, I'm gonna be honest, all of this talk about like general intelligence AI, fucking bullshit. It's absolute hog shit. Like, I know people will say, no, trust me, bro. I've read the stuff. I've done this. No. The reason why I'm so confident about it is, what is intelligence? Everyone's going to give a different answer. We were 20 years out from the singularity 20 years ago. Super AI is dumb. Situational AI died for a task. Yeah, an expert system. An expert system makes sense. You just want to auto set jumping for Star Citizen? Can intelligence be really quantified? No. As a teacher, we've been trying to do it for 200 years. The IQ quotient, or intelligence quotient, intelligence quotients, or the IQ tests, were designed by teachers to try to sort students in terms of learning ability. And it's fucking flawed. It wasn't designed to be perfect, and everyone decided that it was. And every system since then has been flawed. Psychologists don't know what intelligent means. No psychologist will agree on exactly what intelligence designs. Intelligence quotients, like IQ tests, are designed to tell how fast and effective you can learn, not necessarily what you know or what's smart. And that's the problem, is that like we can't decide what intelligent means or what sapient or I say sapient, people say it's wrong. It's like sentient or sapient or whatever. What that sort of self-determining even means. Some people will say some animals are, or all animals are, or even fucking plants are. It depends. I took one a few days ago. I scored a 107. Is that good, Paul? It's actually pretty normal. If you had a score of a pretty high score in when you were a kid, the likelihood is that you're likely going to score lower now than you did when you were younger, because every generation has a higher IQ score. Does that mean you're dumber than you were when you were a kid? No. It means that every generation is getting smarter, or is not smarter, is able to learn faster. It's becoming easier for them to process information. Like, when I was younger, I scored like a 149, I want to say, when I was super young. And I was like, that's really smart. Like, I don't score nearly as high anymore, like in the 120s range or something like that. Because IQ is stupid. It doesn't make any sense. It's designed to just figure out how well you can learn, not how smart you are. Recent events suggest that some of us may in fact be dumber. That is also true. I'm not going to get into that politics there, Midgards, especially since that very specifically affects my job. And none of you want to hear that or hear what I'm going to say about it on any side of the aisle. And IQ is essentially a logical mathematical intelligence. What about social intelligence? Well, to give you an example, and I've said this before, is IQ is one of the questions that was on an IQ test in the 80s was, at what point does an aria happen in an opera? I don't know what operas have anything to do with fucking intelligence. The other problem with intelligence tests is that they're culturally biased. An IQ test written in Chinese, or it's like say in Mandarin, is going to be completely different than an IQ test written in Spanish, because they're not testing the same concepts. Did you want a teacher's opinion? I will try to be as politically neutral as possible. The Department of Education has a lot of problems, but that's because education as itself has issues. The system of education doesn't work. It was built for the 1950s, not 2020s. That has been the same case for over half a century now, and we haven't really changed much in the United States. Does it deserve to be removed? No. That is an entirely political move for political purposes, and there's a lot of political reasons behind it. Does it need to be improved? Sure. There's lots of problems with the Department of Education, with things like standardized testing that was been forced on every student, which, as a teacher's opinion, standardized testing is bullshit. Just like IQ tests are bullshit, standardized testing doesn't tell us shit. It just tells you how well you can take a test. And how many of you have had to take a test after your major evaluations for any like job you take? Me as a teacher as well agrees, yeah. The fuck is an aria? Exactly. Tests in general just seem whack. they're well-meaning. Tests are well-meaning in the, we're well into teacher talk out of Star Citizen talk, but tests they're what we call assessments. Tests can be used to assess skills. They can be used to assess knowledge. But typically you write an assessment specifically to figure out if a student or if a learner figures out what they're trying to learn. The goal is that they pick up the information you've told them and can critically analyze anything you've said. So if I'm doing, like recently did a test on international trade. So we talked about things like quotas, we talked about tariffs, we talked about the differences between protectionists and free traders, we talked about the differences between absolute and comparative advantage when it comes to trade, why nations trade, how trade works. So if a student can understand things like the difference between absolute and comparative advantage, that's some basic level stuff that we want to tell them. But if I show them a diagram that talks about two nations trading, let's just say France and Portugal, and two different products that they're trading with, let's just say wine and cheese, and they're able to tell me who has comparative advantage in wine and cheese, what the terms of trade should be, and why, that is more high-level thinking. They're critically analyzing the information I've given them. They understand what production costs, what opportunity costs are, what a comparative advantage is, what terms of trade is, and how to calculate them. All those things are important aspects. But if I'm doing an assessment for that, I have to assess directly to that. When you're doing a standardized tests, you're not assessing learning, you're assessing bullshit. Because there's no standard learning in assessment. The idea of standardized testing is that everyone should be able to know this information because it's all standard. But none of it is standard. Because we're not allowed to tell people what they're supposed to learn. If a standardized test were to exist, we would all need to know what was on the test so we could teach our students what they need to learn for the test. But they don't do that because that's not the purpose of standardized test. It's designed to fuck people over. I chose a project-based learning school because of my thoughts on traditional schooling. Yeah. As a health teacher, I get it. I understand that. Assessing competence, math is the only constant. It's the easiest thing to judge. Like, math is an easy thing to assess because it's either right or wrong. But when you're doing things like history, we often assess dates and people, which is not how you actually learn history. If you could tell me what date D-Day happened, what day, what year, where it was located, that's all surface level information. If you can explain to me why D-Day happened, that's a completely different set of skills. But a standardized test is only going to ask, when did D-Day happen and where was it? That doesn't tell you anything. To save the world. But why was it at D-Day? Why was it in Normandy in France? Why was it June 6, 1944? Why was it a different date? What was its goal in the larger framework of the war? What was its outcomes? All that kind of stuff. D-Day Beach. Because the cheese was ready to be eaten. It's critical thinking skills. I'm going to leave it on this. As a teacher, since I've started teaching almost 2 decades ago, my main focus has always been critical analysis, critical thinking. Because in my opinion, if students and people in general are able to critically think for themselves, you would solve a lot of the problems that happen often in everything from business to politics to science. Because we often, as humans, are naturally stuck in our rut. We get into what we want or think the world is, and we stay there, and then we rationalize why we stay there. We never critically analyze our positions and who we are, and we often see that as weakness if we decide to change our minds later down the road, based off of new evidence. And I think that's a flaw that we could, as a society, in the United States at least, overcome with more critical thinking. But that's also not in the value of the people who currently hold power in any position. There we go. As long as it doesn't involve reading, that's what I'm saying. You need to fucking read. Yeah, fuck being in college, working on my history degree. I always jumble the dates in my head. I can explain in great detail the events and major battles from start to finish, but the tests they wanted surface info, which is stupid. You're not a historian because you know that Columbus discovered the New World or came upon the New World in 1492. You're not even a historian to know that he wasn't the first European to arrive in the New World. You're a historian to understand why the impact of Columbus, what the impact was Columbus discovering Hispaniola, or why Columbus was there in the first place. Because if you understand the context, then you can understand the events that led to it and the events that led from it, and that chain of story, and all of that helps you understand today, why we have what we have today. It's easier to do more recent history, which is why people are obsessed with like World War II, the Cold War, all that kind of stuff. That helps you more understand the context of what happened. But to understand why that happened in the first place, you have to go back further, and then back further, and back further. And then it gets hazy when you get towards the end. Top tip, most American wars happen because someone touched our boats. No, top tip is most American wars happen because somebody touched our money. Very few American wars don't have to do with resources, land, or money. Almost, actually, all of them have to do with those three things. Deciphering the butterfly effect. Yeah, it's not easy, and it sucks ass sometimes, but it helps you give a better context of what everything is going on. There's a reason why most spies are historians. Most analysts who deal with like intelligence work are people who are well versed in sociology, psychology, and history. And cryptography as well. Math. Because that's what you need to understand why the world's fucked up as it is. But the boats are just a symptom of that money power, money, resources, or land. All right, I'll tie this back into Star Citizen and when. Tying this back into Star Citizen, Star Citizen is a great way of looking at Star Citizen stories of what's going to be told, is that CIG often does the same thing. They'll take a look at what has happened in the past, or what is going on right now, and then model the stories on top of it, because it's an easy, cheap way of building in realism into a universe. It's just copy what already existed or what is going on right now, and then add in your own narrative flares to it to make it tie in with the universe. So you're gonna have to watch the video, but I've said this before. The events that are going on with Save Stanton are far more interesting when you start scratching under the surface. And I really hope CIG scratches under the surface more. Like, who's funding the CFP? Who's funding the frontier fighters? You know, not necessarily as much as the headhunters. The headhunters are pretty simple. They simple people. These from a simple land. The simple land where violence is violence and violence solves everything. Yeah, but the boats are what I remember. Yeah. No one touches the boats. Columbus was looking for a trade route into India, fucked up, got lucky, and found 2 new continents. He was laughed at for his time, because like people were like, he was trying to prove the world was round. No, he wasn't. Everyone knew the world was round. We knew the world was round since like the ancient Greeks. We even measured the circumference of the Earth. Columbus just thought the Earth was smaller than it was, and everyone was like, you're gonna fucking die. And he was like, I'm smarter than all of you. And went off, and then see, I found Japan. And then when Amerigo Vespucci was like, Nah, this isn't Japan. This is something different. Everyone was like, oh, and there's a lot of controversy about Amerigo. He's a cool dude, but very, very controversial. People started realizing he was insane, but he was also an asshole. Nobody liked him. His own men didn't like him, and the Catholic Church didn't like him, and the King and Queen of Spain didn't really like him. He was just friends with Isabella. Dude was fucking jailed for his actions as governor. Brilliant businessman to get the country to other than his own to fund multiple trips to the West. He was just, that man must have had a silver tongue, if you know what I mean. He was really good friends with the Queen. I wonder who is funding the genocidal maniacs. I have a theory. It's a wild theory, and it's probably wrong, but it's the only one that makes sense considering all the information we have. Hey, man, history is a lot simpler when you realize that people were as stupid and as smart as you are today. Humanity hasn't suddenly become more smarter or less shitty. We just gotten better at hiding it or just masked it with different things. The world has always run off of sex, power, resources, and fear. And hope, I would say. I'll be a little optimistic and say and hope. Those 5 things have always made the world go round. No matter what time period, no matter what culture, those 5 things are constant in human nature. Which is why I'm glad CIG is looking to history and to current events to help them flesh out the lore of the universe. And hopefully they continue to do that. Oh. Cui bono. That's it. I will say this. Someone else pointed this out, and I was like, oh, that's the term. I forgot about it. When you're asking why factions are doing what they're doing, what's the reason for the faction doing what they're doing, you have to answer the age-old criminal investigation question, which is cui bono. Who benefits? Who benefits from the frontier fighters going absolute ape shit on everyone in Pyro? Who benefits from the gentrification of Pyro through the CFP? Who is the ultimate victor of those factions? And when you start chasing down those leads and figure out who they're connected to and what it is, you start realizing that this whole event is a lot darker and a lot more complicated than we realize. It's just easy to see a bunch of crazy people who just hate everyone in Pyro and say, oh, they're just crazy people who want to murder everybody. And then looking at the people who are like, oh, we're just here, we're just simple folk who want to make peace in Pyro. It's easy to see that simple folk. It's a lot more complicated to understand, like, who benefits from a peaceful Pyro, from a pacified Pyro. And why would the people who benefit from a pacified Pyro and the people who benefit from a ethnically cleansed Pyro, why would they not like each other? Why would they actively fight one another? Notice how space seems to have inertia? Yeah, it's because of how your engines work. So Hurston is funding both sides? It's a possible theory. It's what I'm bringing up in the video. Because Hurston's not a monolith. There are multiple people in the Hurston family who are all vying for control. History is so full of ridiculous things that make your head spin like a frisbee. What was it? Famously, Mark Twain famously said, the difference between fiction and reality is that that fiction has to be realistic. Reality is often weirder and more stupid than fiction. Oh, you're talking about how things stop. That's a game. That's a game feature. That's a game feature because if ships continue to turn with inertia, they would spin out of control and rip themselves apart. Even KSP has auto stop with those sorts of inertial things. Every game has a version of it. It's just sometimes more built-in universe than not. No, you're talking about wrecks, hulks. Yeah, they stop moving after a while. Yeah, that's designed so that you can actually get onto the ship, or retrieve the stuff inside. Same with the cargo, because you don't want the cargo just Team Rocket blasting off again into space because you bumped it the wrong way. Reality doesn't have to get approved for print by a publisher or editor, etc. Yeah.
Hey, a tip.
CJ Thay, super chatted $10. Woo, so happy to catch a second stream.
Hey, CJ the Misfit, thank you so much for that $10. We're actually kind of wrapping up here because I have to do some writing and some recording and editing for a video I'm releasing this weekend. But I'm glad you come in. Come in at the end when we're talking about a lot of stuff, though. So who's funding Xenothreat? That's another question. Now, part of me goes, CIG hasn't answered these questions. They don't fucking know. They're just riding by the seat of their pants. But part of me also says CIG isn't that stupid. They've had a lot of time to think about this. There's got to be somebody, because there's 4 writers at CIG. There's someone who said, okay, but who benefits? Who's doing this? Why do they do these actions? Because that's not like, oh, well, that's some sort of high level writing. That's like basic writing stuff. Like trying to understand the motivations behind the factions and who would be helping them out is important. Crap, I just got here. I get it. But I feel a little bad when you donated, but is Xeno maybe big enough that they don't need external funding? But how did they get the funding in the first place? Like, they may be self-sufficient now, but where did they get the money? Because they took over Ruin Station. It was like a big event. Like, they kicked out the old gang that controlled it, which was probably the Headhunters. How did they do that? It's not something you do with no money. Where did they get the money? We know they have, like, Idrises. Where did they get the fucking Idrises? Idrises don't just, like, show up out of nowhere. Those are big, expensive materials. Bake sales. The narrative has had a lot of time to wait, adding to the Bible. Exactly. I hope the Mobiglass gets in-game internet like Cyberpunk 2077 in-game wiki websites for lore. They're going to do some of that. They're going to have the Galactopedia, which will be integrated into the Mobiglass. So I can tell you the basic gist of where I think Xenothreat's money comes from. Around the same time Xenothreat took over the Ruin Station, a radical centralist extremist tried to assassinate the Imperator. Emperor Costigan, the last Imperator. Failed, was caught. I think he may have committed suicide before he could get caught, but yeah, they tried to kill the Imperator. We're talking like 2945, 2046, so it was like middle of last decade. And he had ties to extremist groups, anti-Xeno extremist groups. Sound familiar? Now, at the same time, the Centralist Party was promoting more and more xenophobic policies with Earth First mentality. And it's quite clear that the Centralists are made up of the former Mezzer regime. The people who flip sides against the Mezzer regime at the end of the Mezzer regime. Those people who survived, who still wanted to keep business interests on Earth, they're sort of like they lucked out and flipped at the right time. But they didn't necessarily like the Mezzers, but they liked the UEE. They thought the Mezzers were stupid, but sided with the UEE. Now, those people are long dead, but their children and children's children are still around, and it's likely those are the people who kept up these sorts of system. They're also a minority party in the UEE, so that also kind of factors in with these sorts of more extremist views. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Centralists or some extremist Centralist adjacent politician or company or, you know, like rich person, you know, wealthy individual was funding Xenothreat as a political fulcrum to try to use Pyro or to try to, you know, enact their own political will to try to move the needle somewhere. Because they're overtly political. Everyone in Pyro hates them because they're overtly political, and all of their decisions and actions are based off of political decisions in the UE. So, hey,
You can take away my spaceship.
thank you, T-Reese.
You can take away my space suit. You can even take away my space lasers. But you can never,
Ever.
take away my space game.
I'm gonna mute that because it's
Take away my spaceship.
it's just gonna do 5.
You can take away
Thank you so much for gifting those 5 subs there, or 5 memberships there. Talise, thank you for gifting to Bundo, Ryback, Walter Hack, Alex K, and Sunseeker. You're all very important pumpers, very impressive, very pedestrians. You're wrong. Shots and cheers to chat you. Shots and cheers. I wonder if the potential source of Xenothreat and other gang ships is battlefield salvage. Given the recent war and scale of it, I reckon there's a whole industry about finding old UE vessels and getting them working or selling them for parts in the black market. Kind of illegal wreckers, divers in real life. RIP HMS Prince of Wales again. Possibly. But you also got to remember that we're in the middle of a time period where it's very easy to acquire the high levels of military technology because of the militia mobilization initiative. So it may also be just Occam's razor. Some militia organization is serving as a front. Like it's some group is serving as a front as a militia organization and buying a fuck ton of like expensive UEE military material, like defunct military material, and then turning it around and then selling it or giving it to other groups. There's so much lore in the game, and I very much appreciate you and others to keep diving this stuff. No problem, Dabback. That's why I'm interested in this next video, because I'm gonna do a lot of lore explaining, because like a lot of it is just sort of recapping what the events that are going on right now, what happened in Save Stanton, what's going on in Fight for Pyro, and then going into the deep dive about who benefits, what are these factions, what's going on, explain some theories, and then what I believe is likely going on, and then what to pay attention to going forward. I've been going through your videos while I'm at work. I'm glad you enjoyed them. Consequences of the militia mobilization or unintended consequences? I don't think it was intended. The militia mobilization initiative wasn't intended to fund anti-government radicals. It's definitely unintended consequences, but externalities are a thing. It's one of the reasons why the UAE military was against it. They didn't like the idea of selling Idrises and javelins to the civilian population, and they angrily updated their enemy. They have like those identifier lists they use, like identifier for planes and ships and stuff like that, that the militaries will use. They have those for the UAE, and they added the silhouette of the javelin and the Idris to their list of like ships, of enemy ships, in protest of the UAE government giving those surplus ships away. May have not been intended, but everyone's could see it coming. Exactly. Even the UAE military was like, this is going to go fucking tits up instantly. How does the UAE feel about other capital ships like the Kraken or patrol ships like the Perseus being sold? They don't like it. The UAE itself doesn't care. The military doesn't like it. Even the advocacy is kind of iffy about these sorts of things. The military and the advocacy do not want an armed population that could resist them or add to the crime. Add to crime, I should say, in general. They're very clear on that. The Mezzer mentality when it comes to like the UAE hasn't gone away. Like, the UAE calls itself the kinder, gentler humanity after Mezzer is gone. But there isn't been that much change. So whenever I hear people be like, oh, well, it's just bad writing that CIG said that they didn't change their name after such a horrific event. It's like, because you didn't read. It is not changed since the Mezzers. It's modified, but it's still the UAE. It's still an imperial regime with imperial ambitions. They just don't like to call themselves the bad guys. The problem is that a lot of the people who are against them are either disjointed or too small to actually do any difference. So there are many factions within the UAE which are trying to reform the UAE or destroy it. Like, for instance, the transitionalists are the inheritors of the old revolutionaries who overthrew the UAE in the first place, who overthrew the Mezzers. They believe that the Mezzerites who survived are the biggest threat to humanity. The reason why the transitionalists and the centralists do not like each other is because they think each other is going to kill each other, because they are. Both of these sides are actively trying to kill one another. Because the centralists are like, Earth must come first. And the transitionalists are like, we need to reform the system. We must, the future of humanity is on Terra. And stuck in the middle, who's the majority, is the universalists, who want to find a middle way. Which kind of has worked. But it's not going to fully work. It's something is going to give. There are those who want to improve the UAE, those who want their old power under the Mezzers back. Yeah. It's important to understand that the way that the universe is created is that there is no good guys or bad guys. There are people who are better, like who are more pure, more good, and those that are more bad. Because as using Dave Haddock's own words, you can't make a depressing universe where everyone hates each other. Shades of Grey is fine, but it can become really depressing if you live in nothing but shades of gray. So there has to be good guys and some some bad guys. They're not going to be perfect, but there has to be things that people will turn to in order for feel less depressed. It hasn't so much worked as it has yet to fail. The pitch done at the very beginning of the project was the story of the Star Citizen is the end of the Roman Empire. The UEE will fall. That's not a question. It's a statement. The UEE will fall. How it falls and how the aftermath happens is entirely up to you. But the system isn't going to survive. And that's the main story of Star Citizen. Who decides the future of humanity? The transitionalists in Terra or the centralists on Earth? So what's going to replace the UEE? That's the question. That's the main question of the game. Like one of the things they pitched at GDC was that like the Vanduul will eventually sack Earth, but how bad that attack on Earth is going to be will entirely depend on the players. How well do the players defend Earth? Do they choose to defend Earth? That kind of thing. The USSR, but with spaceships, will replace the UEE. I will go to the one place that capitalism hasn't spoiled. Space! Red Alert 2. There's only 2, right? Not 3? All right, yo. Thank you for hanging out. We really need a Kane from Command and Conquer and Star Citizen to side with as a major antagonist. Just a charismatic, compelling bad guy. I don't think CIG will ever do a storytelling technique like that. If they're going to do one thing, I feel like what they'll do is they'll have a charismatic and compelling leaders or charismatic and compelling characters from both sides of the political spectrum. Or from all sides of the political spectrum. I have a feeling that like Mara Go, I think her name is, or I can't remember her name. She's Senator Go from Terra. She's a pretty charismatic figure. At least she is written to be. And I feel like she could be a rallying cry where players could go behind her because she really believes in the cause. And then there's members of the Centralist Party who are very charismatic. They believe in their cause. They're just assholes. They're politicians. So they're going to come across as politicians. CIG needs more shades of gray and less villains. Less good guys and bad guys, more shades of gray. It's okay to have some solid middle ground folks, but the people on the extremes. So how to put this is you need to have people in the center who are sort of bad, but sort of good, but generally speaking, neutral. And then on either side of the spectrum, you have people who are extremists, who are diehard zealots, who believe in their cause. If you're on this side, these people are the bad guys. If you're on this side, these people are the bad guys. That's a lot more compelling storytelling than just good and bad. There will still always be the Vanduul, who will be always the bad guys, who you can't reason with, you have to fight them. But as long as you can understand why they fight and their culture behind fighting, it's, you know, you can respect the fight, you know. I think having three sides, two sides which are extreme who want change and one side that wants to maintain the status quo, works a little bit better. A lot of things we hold to be true are only so from a certain point of view. Some old white dude. A lot of words of ropes or something. Yeah. All right, y'all. Thank you for hanging out with us. I'm going to call it tonight. You are all wonderful, amazing people. Thank you for watching. If you did enjoy this, let me know in the comments down below what you like about this or any of your own thoughts on any of these comments if you're watching this after the fact. Make sure you follow us on Twitch, twitch.tv/TheAstroPub. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this content, and hit the bell icon to be notified when these go out and when I go live. I will not be streaming tomorrow because it's Valentine's Day, so I'm going to spend some time with the wife. I don't know what I'm going to be doing, but I'll be spending time with the wife. And I will be back on Saturday for the Captain's Table. Specifically, we're talking about PvP. Its role in Star Citizen, how it's implemented right now, what its future looks like, kind of high-level stuff about PvP. I have a couple of people. I'm trying to get a few more people in. I talked with Zero State, and he was interested, but he wasn't available this weekend. So I'm going to be reaching out to a couple more people, maybe some people who you're not used to. There's been suggestions of a couple of TikTokers who do PvP in Star Citizen, so I'd love to bring them on and talk a little bit. I've reached out to A1 and a couple other folks as well to see if they wanted to come and talk about it. So yeah, I haven't talked to Noodle. I can reach out to Noodle and ask him, and I haven't reached out to Darklaw, but or to Cutlet. But maybe some of them might help. Yeah. Thank you for watching. Thank you for hanging out with us. And like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black.